amazing. Cesar. I think she'll be back. If I can have all other board members to the podium, please. Or the dais, whatever you want to call this. All right, it's 7:05. The board previously met in closed session under exception C1, C10, C11, and C21. I'd like to recall the Board of Ed meeting to order on May 23rd, 2023. If I could have a roll call, please.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Present.
Mr. Riddle.
Present.
Ms. Hannah. Ms. Lansing.
Present.
President Ewing.
Here, so we do have a quorum, and I know Ms. Hannah is in the building, so she should be joining us any second. With that, we have, I'd like a motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Fabian. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We're now back in open session. And Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask Ms. Gator if you'd be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So just stand and start the pledge. All right, so President's Report. Today I'm telling the board and the community it has been an amazing May, but it has been a very tiring May as we come to the end of the school year. So instead of going on and on and on, I want to say thank you to all of our staff for everything that you've done this year. Get your rest and relaxation, except for those, or get your rest and relaxation. Then those of you that are coming back for summer school, be ready to hit the ground running. And then those of you that are coming back for next year, is we act as if school year is ending, but as soon as this year ends, the next one starts. And so we appreciate everything that you do for the students and the families of Waukegan Public Schools. I also want to say congratulations to all of our graduates from kindergarten to high school. So seeing all of the different ways that the schools have honored those individuals has been amazing. I got to stop at 2 of the middle school graduations, and so I see we have some recent graduates in the audience here today as well. So again, thank you to our staff, and thank you to all of our amazing students. It's been a challenging year, but through challenges, we also grow and develop. So I look forward to what's coming next. This concludes my President's Report, and now we have our Student Board Member Report. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, yeah, as I want to say again, like President Ewing stated, obviously it is the end of the school year, and as he said, we want to congratulate everybody that worked very hard this school year, our teachers, our staff, our faculty, everybody that came here every single day and worked and got the job done. And obviously, there's some staff members in the group, there's teachers, students. Obviously, thank you for all you do. So, as you can see, this is my 8th student board member report. Yeah, we're getting to number 10. That's absolutely crazy in my opinion. So, next slide, please. Next slide. So, our statement today is going to be on the topic of change. Next slide, please. And for some people on this board may recognize this quote. This quote was my opening quote for my closing statement for my student board member interview. And for the ones that have heard it and to the ones that haven't, quote, "Change has become a constant. The way we embrace it defines our future," which was said by the late Queen Elizabeth II. And obviously, I believe that change has and always will be an evolving constant. We must embrace change or be feared to be left behind. And I feel that for our students, specifically the ones that have graduated from our middle schools, our elementary schools, and obviously our high school, congratulations to our graduates as always. Change is something that is scary, but as always, it's something to be looking forward to because we could always push forward to something new. And I feel that our students have that sentiment one way or the other, no matter how big or small the change may be. So that's the end of my opening statement. So old business. Next slide, please. As always, our Promotion and Retention Committee, the objective, as always, is to review and propose a new promotion and retention policy for WPS 60. Obviously, the policy is 5215. The students' view, as always, it is in the view of the students of the Waukegan High School. The students at the high school, middle school, and elementary school levels are held accountable and supported. As always, I totally miss these meetings because I always have stuff going on during the time of the meeting, so I don't really know much of what's happening right now, but I have very much confidence that the committee and Dr. Null are doing fabulous work, as always, to get a policy for the board. So, as always, congratulations, and thank you for the work you do. It's a lot. Next slide, please. So, the future of 1010. Within the last week and a half, I have met with Principal Abe and now with a group of students, which are Melanie Colvin, Brendan Aguilar, Julian Gonzalez, and Arvin Paul. These are some of my closest friends, and we all came together after talking with Principal Abe about a new rule that could be implemented for and after 1010. And after one meeting, we came to a compromise and a resolution to change the 1010 rule. So for the start of the 2023-2024 school year, Principal Abe has decided, after the consultation of this small committee, that we shall change the 1010 rule to a 5-5 rule. And to alleviate the issues of obviously the bathrooms, having a specific bathrooms being open and having students know that this, and this bathroom is open during every school day, so they know this specific bathroom is open, so I could go to that one without, going from the east side to the west side and coming back again trying to figure out where a bathroom's open. So I feel that this improvement is a step in the right direction. As always, we wish to have all bathrooms open and, not have a 10-10 rule or a 5-5 or a 3-3. But obviously change comes slowly but surely, and this is one step in the right direction. So I feel that this is obviously a work in progress, but I feel that we are getting somewhere here, and this is, I feel, a victory for the students. So obviously, thank you to everyone that helped. We got something done, y'all. So.
It's good. All right.
So next slide, please. New business. Next slide, please. It's literally just one thing. So I had a meeting with Braden Winrick. Our goal and vision is to discuss with Mr. Winrick the ideas and vision for a new Waukegan High School campus and to see what can be done to assist in his revolutionary idea. For the people that have went to the civics showcase, Mr. Winrick has said that he has a vision and idea to create a new Waukegan High School campus. And obviously he is very much passionate for this idea, and I feel with the help from the community, the school district, the administration, I feel like we could really get something done for how passionate and the fire he has for this project, for having an hour-and-a-half meeting with him, which was a lot more talking about other items than the actual issue. But it's more knowing our students, which cultivates collaboration. But Mr. Wendricks is obviously talking with the superintendent, with some other board members, and we're slowly but surely getting the discussion ready to present that and build slowly but surely the foundation for an idea of a new Waukegan High School campus. So. It will take some time, as this is not an easy project. It's something big, but I hope that slowly but surely we could get somewhere with it. So, yeah, great meeting. Did take a while, but it was worth it. Next slide, please. So, community spotlight. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about mental health. As always, mental health in the last two decades, has become a more open subject to talk about, but has still very much been a taboo subject for some families and communities. But I do want to state for our students that taking mental health days is important, and you should try to take them if you need them. And I do want to tell students, because apparently a lot of students don't know this, that the state of Illinois does grant students 5 mental health days if they so choose to use it. That means you get 5 days out of the school year to take care of your mental health. And I feel like that is something important to do. When you're stressed out from the academics, home life, personal life, the professional, and sports, the extracurriculars, you need time to take care of yourself, to be kind to yourself. And as someone that has gone through stress and that, I've taken 5 my mental health days because I know my mental health is important. And I want other students to realize that it's okay to take your time, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to take some time and say, I need a break. And I want students to know that within these 5 days, take them. If you need them, take them. And obviously the school year is already over tomorrow, but for the next school year, obviously realize that you could take those 5 days if you so wish. Next slide, please. So graduation 2023. I do apologize to some of the graduates and obviously the Board of Education. I was not able to attend because of some family issues that arose during this time, but I did watch the live stream, and I just want to say I'm very proud of our graduates from the middle school and the high school levels, and elementary school too, and kindergarten, because they do kindergarten graduations. And I do want to say, obviously, as I said the last time, change is hard, change is sometimes scary, but as you can see, our graduates are very much willing to put one foot on the door and know that we can do what we wish, and that the future is ahead of us. And that for our graduates at the high school, they are much ready and very much dedicated to create a life for themselves outside the high school, teenage atmosphere. So I congratulate, as always, our graduates for all the work you've done in the last 4 years, the last 13 years of your education, and that this is just one step, and there's a lot more left out in the world to explore. Next slide, please. Diploma pickup. This is just more to let graduates know if there's anybody in the crowd or obviously are watching. Diploma pickups was today, but also tomorrow from 8 to 12 at Washington campus, door 11. Please bring a photo ID, any type of ID you have. If you can't obviously pick it up, and that is very understandable, they will mail it to your home that is put in Infinite Campus. And if you have any questions, the email's right there. Obviously, you could ask your teachers, email the principal, anybody you need to pick up your diploma, because you worked hard for it. You deserve to get your diploma. Next slide, please. Ooh, a picture of me. I usually try not to put a lot of pictures of me. Obviously, about 2 weeks ago, I'm gonna say 2 weeks, I'm bad at dates, y'all. It was JROTC Awards Night, and obviously this is a big event for everybody in the regiment. As always, this is where all the awards, all the dedication is shown for the students, for all the hard work they do. And as everyone knows, it's also the changing of the regimental change and of the RC, the RCSM, the Chief of Staff, and all of the G staff and team captains. And obviously there are some great people as the RC, which is my friend Juliana Reyes, my other friend who's also the Chief of Staff, Ashley Velasquez, and the RCSM for this year, Ureli, who are amazing people that work hard in the regiment, and I wish them luck this year. And all the hard work they have shown right now in our group chat is just blowing up because they're planning everything for the Memorial Day Parade, which is also happening, y'all, if you want to go see that. And obviously our G staff, which have a lot of my friends in there, and everybody else that got an award, because obviously even getting one award from the regiment is an important deal. And it means a lot to all our students. And obviously we had Mrs. Fabian, the superintendent, Mr. Ewing, and who else came? I do not remember. But if you did go, yeah, you know you went, and I thank you for that. And obviously this is a picture of me with now retired Sergeant First Class Fugate, which will be retiring this year and going to Pennsylvania to be with his family. And obviously, on behalf of myself, we thank you for your work and your dedication to the district and JROTC. And a picture of me take a picture with me with my awards, which is never a bad thing to show once in a while. And I think that's it. Yeah. So it's the Q&A. Obviously, if anybody on the board has any questions, this is the time.
I got a couple of questions.
Yes.
Awesome presentation.
Thank you.
As far as the bathroom scheduling goes, we're going to the 5-5 now.
Yes.
Are there plans to have further discussions to reduce that to, or trusting our students to know when they need to use the restroom?
From the discussion at the end of the meeting was that for now we want to try this and see what happens. If there is no negatives to it, we will start back the conversation to reduce it to maybe a 3-3 or none at all, and keeping bathrooms all open. But as always, this is a very slow process, and we worked hard. We're working as quick as we can to help the students feel that we're not just listening to one group and one stakeholder.
Right. So it's going to be like a check-in after a full year, after a semester?
We're going to give it maybe a 1 or 2, 3 months within the start of the school year, and then we're going to come back to the conversation and be like, okay, did this work? Let's think of something else and see if we can reduce it as much as possible.
Awesome. And then for the WPS campus, is that to replace both existing campuses or build a third?
That's a great question. Replace the Washington campus, all the
Our
campuses.
castle? No,
Yeah,
I get it.
and start something new. Obviously, it's always in the vision stage. So all that is going to obviously be more detailed as time goes on. But obviously, that vision is to replace the campuses, to create something new that fits for all our city population and our students.
Okay, and as you talk to our students about their mental health days, those 5 days, can you just let them know if that goes against their perfect attendance?
That does not. If you do
It
call
does not.
the attendance office, they will keep it as an excused absence, and that will not affect your attendance at all. Thank you for bringing that up, because I know a
Yep,
lot of students have that. Me also. I totally forgot about that. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And then the last piece that I had, and I think it's maybe just a takeaway for the district. So I selfishly wanted to go to the ROTC night, but also had a conflict. But then there were students who missed out on the summer bash, I believe it was called. So I think we need to be more mindful about planning the events so that students in JROTC can also attend the other events going on in the district. So if we need to better clarify or leverage that district calendar and make sure everybody's getting the events on it as they're planning, that's just a takeaway for the district.
No,
because
yeah,
you should be
absolutely.
able to enjoy.
No, yes,
or other
absolutely.
students.
That is a great takeaway of that, and obviously, that is something that could be done for next school year and as time goes on. But yeah, great point. And if there isn't any more questions,
I just have one quick comment.
yes.
I just want to say thank you to JRTC who did honor me with the June McGuire Award. So I'm sorry that I didn't get to stay and get that from you, but thank you for that.
Congratulations as always. Mr. Brickbright?
I just want to appreciate your foresight to be able to recognize that we do need a new high school. East Campus, my mother's dead and gone, but she went to East Campus. East Campus been there when North Chicago did not have a school. Everybody from North Chicago went to East Campus. And again, I just appreciate your vision, because as time go on, like baby kids, they don't die, they multiply. And right now the building is too small, and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yes, absolutely. And as I said, Mr. Wendricks is talking with the superintendent and other board members and other stakeholders within the city to bring this idea up to light. So, it's going to take slowly but surely, but we will get something done. That I can promise. And if there are any other questions, and I don't think there are, then I yield the balance of my time.
The entire board. And him, the superintendent. He's a student. Yeah, so I did want to let, before we move on to special recognition, the superintendent wanted to address something going on in the community today.
Today we had an unfortunate event that happened at Lewis Middle School this morning when adults tried to enter the school for the purpose of harming a student. Like many of you, I found this morning incident to be very upsetting. The idea that adults would get involved in a student dispute and attempt to harm a child is disturbing, and it sets the worst possible example for our students. I do wish to commend the staff for their swift reaction to help protect our students and mitigate the incident. School and district-based staff also did a wonderful job following the incident. We did unfortunately have 2 staff members injured, and I am happy to report that they are back at home after brief visits to urgent care. I also want to thank the partners of the Waukegan Police Department who were able to respond quickly, investigate, and ultimately bring charges in this matter. It is an unfortunate event that I have to report on today, but I wanted to give you clarity for our parents at home and our community of what transpired at Lewis. But I do want you to know that the staff handled it immediately, and for the rest of the school day, it went very smoothly. So thank you for all your support for everyone who was at Lewis and the Waukegan Police Department.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next up, we got special recognition and presentations. So 7A is our spotlight on 60, which is Saturday school at Lightfoot.
The main purpose for Saturday school is to get the students that are going to go to kindergarten next school year ready for kindergarten. We teach them all the skills that we've been teaching throughout the whole school year, we teach those skills on Saturdays. The hours are from 8 to 12. The students get breakfast and lunch since they're here for 4 hours. And there's other classes. There's 3 classes in total with students, 1 bilingual classroom, 2 monolingual classrooms. So some of those students that were selected for Saturday school are the ones that are a little behind in their skills. And I have seen an improvement from when they started Saturday school to now, the very end. We've seen them identify more letters, and some of them are getting better at writing their names, identifying more numbers. So we have seen a lot of improvement in doing things on their own, which is what we really want them to be, as independent as possible. So when they go to kinder, they're doing things on their own.
Hola, mi nombre es Teresita González. Voy a hablar sobre mi experiencia los sábados. Mi hija Anaí González acude los sábados a clases y he notado bastante diferencia. Anaí ha avanzado bastante en el dominio de los números y de ciertas áreas que estaba atrasada. Ahora ha avanzado bastante. Creo que los niños acudan los sábados a clases es una mejoría. Van más preparados al kinder y eso es realmente muy necesario, porque bastantes niños necesitan un poco más de ayuda que algunos otros, y esto a mí en lo personal me ha ayudado muchísimo.
We started right after our first year coming back from COVID with 60 students because we have 3 teachers. So we tried not to go over 20 students per teacher. For me, I've always wanted to have the extra support for students. I love the fact that we're able to offer something for families that's convenient for them. And Saturdays seem to be a more convenient time to bring both morning and afternoon students together. In the past, we've had another building come over as well and seeing the increase in impact in student learning with the students coming over for their learning and development. I just love having the option open for all of our students that need it. With the effects that we're still learning about COVID, I think support wherever you can get it is important. And so with the Saturday school being available to the students, especially with them going to kindergarten, and some of them were probably pretty isolated at home during COVID. They didn't have interaction with other students, teachers, or anyone. So to be able to have that option for them, especially since early childhood is a big component of social and emotional development, I think is the most important thing, because it's something that they really need. And they're going to kindergarten, so that's going to open up a whole new world for them, but we want to prepare them as much as possible. We can't make up for the time that's missed, but we can at least give them some support going forward.
Right. And I see we have some of our life staff, if I'm not mistaken, in the audience. If you guys want to stand, or no, nobody. I thought so, but no, I'm very excited to see that. I know one of the things that this board has talked about is how to give our students opportunities for extended day and extended year. We know that that's one of the ways that we can help close the gap, and so I appreciate the work that's happening in that Saturday school program, because our babies need it, and it's a great way to bring families together and extend the school week for our students. So kudos. Next up, we have a special guest that I'm gonna call to the podium, and these are representatives of the Emmanuel A. Gator Scholarship.
Shorty. My name is Arlene Davis, and I'm on the committee for the Emmanuel A. Gator Scholarship. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him. And his accomplishments when he was a student here at Waukegan High School.
And I'm sorry, Miss Davis, can you bring the microphone just a little bit closer so that way they can hear you online?
All right.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now? His accomplishments when he was at Waukegan High School were too numerous for me to memorize. So I just want to read a few of his accomplishments while he was here. He graduated from Waukegan High School in 2005. While attending Waukegan High School, he helped his team win 3 regional and 2 sectional championships. In 2005, he received the Waukegan High School Player of the Year award. He earned his associate degree in business administration at Wabash Junior College. He received a full athletic scholarship to Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. He was a respectful and caring person. Emmanuel was a well-mannered young man who loved the Lord. He was well-known and well-liked by everyone. And in a nutshell, that's why we decided to start this scholarship. In October of last year, his life was tragically taken from him in a car accident. It left all of us in shock and deeply saddened. My son, David, was on the varsity team with him. So my son, some of his relatives, his mother, we decided to begin a scholarship in his name to keep his memory alive. This year we were able to give 2 well-deserving students here at Waukegan High School. I think it was Lawrence Harris and Manuel Diaz received a scholarship, a $1,000 scholarship. So it is our hope to do this every year, to make this an annual event, and we hope that every year it will get bigger and better. I would like to thank the board. I would like to thank the staff and everyone that helped us put this scholarship together. We received help with the graphics for the poster. We received help putting the word out to the students that this was available to them, and the response was really good. Thank you for your help, and we look forward to working with you in the future because, as I said, we're not going to stop here. We're going to continue on.
Good evening. I'm a nervous wreck, so just bear with me. I also want to thank the board members. When I reached out to Mr. Ewing right away, instantly, he was on it. He was on it. He was on it. So I just want to thank him, as well as Evanda Fulton and Adriana Garcia. I don't know if they're here or not, but I want to thank them as well. Miss Fulton, she was just unbelievable. I called her every day, all day, and with a smile. So I just want to thank her as well. Also, I'm here. The reason I'm here today is to present the first annual Emmanuel A. Gator IV Scholarship in honor of my son. The scholarship is in honor of him due to his untimely death. This scholarship is just a little assistance. We all know how important scholarships are. I was fortunate that I didn't have to go through that, but I know how important it was to me. So it's just to give them a little help, you know, with whatever it is that they may need. So I just want to just do that. The scholarship was funded by family, friends, strangers. Next year, we plan to do things differently. We're gonna do tons and tons of foundations, we're going to do tons and tons of fundraisers, thank you. We're going to do a lot of that. Instead of, instead of asking for donations, we're just going to find a new way to get this done, because this is something that I want to go on for years and years, even after I'm gone. I want this to continue. The only thing that we ask of the recipients is that you do your best and never give up. This is bittersweet, but I know that my son will be pleased. I just want the guys to also know that we're not just going to give you this and just walk away. We're going to also check on you from time to time, not checking on you, just make sure you're doing okay. And if you need anything, and if we can assist you, we just want you to know that we're here for you. Again, I just want to thank everyone. Not only did you guys assist with the scholarship, but also you also aided in his funeral service. So I just want to thank you to your staff. You guys were wonderful. Everything was just immaculate. And I just want to thank all of you for hosting his funeral. So with that being said, the 2 recipients of the first Emmanuel A. Gator scholarship goes to Isaiah Harris. Isaiah Harris.
Yeah, Isaiah Diaz.
So this is Isaiah. I just want you guys to know that we're proud of you. Your information that you sent in was very, very touching. I like the fact that you spoke about how you were the first to go to college. Is that?
Yeah,
You
I'm
were
a first generation college student.
Exactly. So I've been touched. And with you, I like the fact that he wanted to help the homeless. One thing about Gator, he was always for the underdog. So I'm just so really, really, really impressed with your information that you sent in. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. So I just want to give you that.
Y'all did awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, right in the middle.
I don't feel like I should be in this picture. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. McBride. Yes.
To Gator's mother, I knew your son real well. He put Waukegan on the map.
Yes,
He did. And I'm going to pledge $100, and I'm going to ask every board member that's sitting up here to do the same. That would be your first scholarship.
Go ahead, Ms. Lindsay.
So I had the pleasure of being in high school when your son played for our team, and that dog pound was always filled. And I mean, trying to get a seat was crazy. I did the color guard, so I didn't have to fight anybody for it. Hopefully we can get our gym that packed and he can inspire more of our players. But I just thank you for gifting us with him to give us that experience and that joy from that time.
Go ahead, Ms. Anna.
Yeah, and I remember going to all the games, watching them play, and Gator, man, I mean, it was so exciting being in Peoria with them and down at the Rosemont, all of that. I remember all of it, and he will forever be remembered. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah. I was in the 7th grade, and and I used to, go to the dog pound. My brother, class of '06, and so, I just always remember that time and what it meant for our community. And this is, I want to say thank you, is because it's very hard to take your pain and use that to allow somebody else to progress. I know, I don't know. I have 3 sons, and so I can only imagine what it's going through. But when I got your email and your request was, how can I bless a Waukegan athlete, I'm beyond appreciative, and I know our students are too. And so don't get emotional. I am a little bit emotional, unfortunately, is because it's been multiple. I've had these conversations with parents who've lost children over the years. But the one thing that makes me proud to be from Waukegan is the way our parents and our students step up and turn that pain into progress. So thank you, Ms. Gator. Thank you to all of those that raised this money, and congratulations to the students that received this award. Go forward, make us all proud, as we know you will. So thank you.
Well,
You have 10 people on this board, and I made a commitment. I'm doing the first, and I hope everybody fall in line. Talk a good game. Let's play a good game.
Thank you. So we are now at the opportunity for public comment. Each individual will get 3 minutes. If you need translation services, translations will be provided for you, and you will get 6 minutes to allow for translation. We do want to encourage civility, as well as remind speakers to please refrain from mentioning student and staff names in your remarks. I'm going to call the first 3 names in order: Shakita Jones, Mark Shinkton, and Randy Sabecki. Another Waukegan athlete and alumni who done great things and represented as a Bulldog. So whenever you're ready, Ms. Jones.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of the athletic program, track and field in particular. I was in a call with our conference head coaches. I'm the head girls track and field coach. We are hosting conference next year. We're scheduled to host conference next year. But because our facilities, all the coaches are trying to vote us out of hosting conference because there's 8 teams in our conference and we only have 6 lanes. And as you know, if you've had the opportunity to go around the track is beat up. It's bad. And we've had so many injuries as a result. The indoor track has been there for 50 years, and it's like running on cinder blocks. So we've had so many ankles, shins, hips, all the injuries you can imagine from running on concrete, which is just horrible for runners. So I am here to say, what can we do to not be embarrassed and get skipped over to host conference meets in a conference that the board voted to keep us in?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my question, like, what can we do? When can we enhance our facilities? Because being voted out of hosting conference is embarrassing.
Yes, it is.
It's
So we can't interact.
we
That's the
can't.
only reason, Ms. Jones. We're not ignoring you. Is
to Brandon.
Yeah.
To your point, Chiquita.
we can't interact.
No, I just wanted to say to her point. And I'm not asking her questions, but to your point, I heard you loud and clear.
Me too.
Every other district, including North Chicago,
Yes.
have what you're asking for. Not just that, even the turf.
Yes.
We don't even have that.
We have the worst facility north of Chicago.
So I
Like
hear
the
you loud and clear.
CPS north.
We're going to have a discussion about it.
Okay, as an athlete, Olympic athlete, talking is amazing, but to be successful, you got to do stuff. So I want to know, when can it be done on behalf of the kids, so we can get more kids out of here on scholarships like I was blessed to have. So I just want to say, just let me know when we can do this and prevent all these kids from being as injured as they've been because of the lack of great facilities for them to even train on.
I want to know that
Thank you.
they're voting to vote you out of the conference.
They're voting us out of hosting, yes.
Oh, hosting.
Yes, because of our facilities, the quality, well, the terribleness of our facilities.
Thank you for the information.
That's all I got. So just
Thank
let
you.
me know. Someone just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And I do want to remind the board as well as the audience that this is an opportunity for the community and individuals to address the board, and then it will be assigned out. So our lack of response is not us ignoring you, it is the process. So the next name was Mark Shinkton and then Randy Sabecki, in that order.
Good evening. I want to tell you guys a little story. When my son went to college, he picked housing solely on that they had tutoring in his dorm for the subjects he was looking for. After 2 years, he actually became then a resident tutor there. And within probably, say, a month, he realized and he said, it's great that they have tutoring here, but the kids that need it aren't here. All the kids that were coming for tutoring wanted to increase and do better. The ones that needed the help weren't coming. Now, over the last couple of meetings, I've been listening to you guys decide on whether you're going to approve 2 things, the BAM and WOW and the paper. So I've heard, and I have no feelings either way, okay? But I think we've realized that BAM and WOW are making progress, but I don't think they're hitting the target of what it was designed for. Okay? We still have kids getting service, and that's great. But I think we're missing that. And obviously, we can't force students to participate. The next thing is paper. There was a comment which kind of bothered me. And I think this is one of the big rules for people on a school board, is that they have to be financially sound. I've heard that maybe it isn't the greatest platform. Again, I don't know what students are hitting it. You know, are they good students already, just looking for extra help, or are we targeting the demographics that we're looking for? And it's going to be.
Thank you, Mr. Shinkton. Randy Sabecki.
All right, I got a couple things tonight. First, I want to address the Lewis incident this morning. According to the report from the administrators, I'd like to know why the school went on a soft lockdown when that happened. Soft lockdown is when there's an incident within the community close to the school, then we go on soft lockdown. If someone got into the school, it should have been a hard lockdown. That's even in our policies. It should have went to right immediate, and there's still one at large, so it should have been a hard lockdown. That's my first comment. My second, this is the 6th time since my son has been in high school. He's a junior. The 6th time he's been in a classroom without a teacher, which happened again a couple weeks ago. And I emailed a couple people on the board, Mr. President, Superintendent, Mr. Hill, and that Mr. Hill responded with a lame excuse. And I want to know, we hold students accountable. When they're late, they get a detention automatic. We hold staff members accountable. When they break a rule, when we want to apply the rule, then we suspend them. How come administrators are not held accountable? For me as a parent, have to email the administrator to say you don't have a teacher in the classroom, and they didn't no clue. What could have happened in that classroom with those students? They're the ones that place them. Oh, we didn't even know there was juniors in that class. You're the ones that place them in that class, so you should have known. Another thing on the agenda tonight, the 4% increase for non-union personnel. I'd like to know, did we hire a consultant firm to come in to make sure all these non-union personnel make the same with surrounding districts that didn't get the raises? We did it for the assistant principals, and that we just gave them raises, but now they're on here for another 4% increase. You should have gave them the 4% increase first and then moved them up. But that's my question. For all the other non-union personnel, did we hire a firm to come in to make sure they're getting paid the same as surrounding communities like we do the administrators? I want to comment on the 10-10 rule, 5-5 rule, whatever. It is against the law. People, you cannot lock the bathrooms. You cannot deny anybody from going to the bathroom. I don't care what rule you want to call it. If a kid has to go to the bathroom, they have the right to go to the bathroom. If you tell them they cannot, all you're doing is opening yourself up for a lawsuit, because you cannot stop someone from going to the bathroom, and you're not allowed to lock a bathroom. They have the right to go to the bathroom. What else did I want to say? There was something else. That's all I can remember. I don't write it down. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Sabecki. Next 3 names in order are Janice Hay, Rochelle Mendez, and Wygina Briscoe.
I just want to, before you start the time, Mrs. Anna, how are you? I remember. Do you remember we used to work at the what was that again? The volunteered. I did some work years ago, over 30 years. I've been a part of Waukegan for over 30 years. So it's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Gator, if you need me, we also were a member of the same church. So she knows my son, and we've held each other and cried together and prayed together. So I'm there for you, okay? You know that. It's hard. Give me a minute. So anyway, so I'm here again to ask you for your support with Multiple Myeloma Awareness Foundation. And like all of us, we're doing something in our community to make awareness, and this is how we go about fundraisers. My fundraiser, as you can see, is to do a golf outing. I've done a lot of things in the community. I've been doing Sounds of Caribbean over 11 years, bringing members of our community together, and just many different things. So, yes, you get nervous when you get up here. So, so this fundraiser for multiple myeloma is to bring awareness. Please do not look at the messenger, look at the cause. A lot of people don't know what it's all about. You think you have pain in your body and it could be something, and it's multiple myeloma. You got to get it checked. The earlier you get it checked out, the better off you'll be. So this fundraiser is to bring fundraising to research. Research, I have multiple myeloma. Research funding is to help the better. When I first was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, I would spend like hours at the cancer center to get treatment. Now I go in 5 minutes, they give me a shot, little booster, and I'm out. And I can even drive and get to work the next day. Before, with that chemo, it was awful. So I believe in research. That is why I got up out of my bed, or got up out of what I'm sitting on, and trying to advocate, to do something about it. Instead of sitting around being a follower, I become a leader. So I'm advocating for this support. So when you come out to the golf outing, my events are usually fun. It's not going to be sad, even though it's a sad situation. You will get, if you're a sponsor or if a person, you'll get your name on a sign like this, and we're going to feed you, and you're going to have fun playing golf. And we're going to let myeloma fly. Even if you're not a golfer, please, if you don't know how we have the putt, you can come around and do whatever. If you slice the ball, that's fine. Nobody's going to laugh. You're there to support. So please talk to me. I have flyers. Is that for me? I have flyers.
Thank you.
I'll be popping up at different places with my sign on my little table.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
Ms.
looking
Hay.
for a committee as well. Thank you. God bless you all. I love Waukegan School.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Hay.
thank you very much.
Ms. Mendez.
Hello, I'm Rochelle Mendez. I'm a third grade teacher at Glen Flora Elementary. Have been for quite a while now. At the last board meeting during the teaching and learning presentation, Miss Hannah had asked, is central office making the curriculum, or are teachers building the curriculum? Mr. McBride also asked for clarification on this. I did send the board an email this week, but I thought I'd come in and publicly say a few things to clarify and correct some inaccurate statements that Mr. Cesario had said in his response to the board's question. Mr. Cesario had told the board that we do have the core program that we are using, which is at grade level. What core program is he referring to? We do not have a current core program in which to follow. We have curriculum mapping in which we're writing the curriculum. Mr. Cesario had also told the board that the district is trying to offer a variety of materials and a variety of levels. It is obvious that he has not personally seen the sets of books that teachers receive, and he even thinks we have a core program. The majority of the books that teachers receive are read-alouds, where the teacher has the one book, the teacher is doing the reading. And many of the hands-on actual class sets are above grade level. Mr. Cesario also stated that the district is providing admin and teachers with support for implementing these materials and the curriculum. Again, we don't have a curriculum. We don't have a core program. Over the last 7 years, though, teachers have had to learn 4 new programs in the last 7 years, or to take on new endeavors. We had All of E for a couple of years. We had Gretchen Courtney's Balanced Literacy for a couple of years. Then we had Ready Gen, which we know it wasn't perfect, but we were well trained on it. We had it for 3 years, and as a professional, teachers knew where to fill in those gaps for what it didn't have. And now, for the 4th one, we have this curriculum mapping, which Mr. Cesario said has essentially morphed into curriculum writing. That's the part he was correct on. Again, I'm Rochelle Mendez, a 3rd grade teacher at Glen Flora Elementary. I would invite you to come over and look at these materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez.
Yeah, 'cause see, we used to get all of that stuff here to look at before it went to. We did.
Good evening. Whenever I sub in the schools, I always like to come back to the board and bring back some feedback from the students. And this time specifically, I was with the 9th graders. I did a sampling of about 120 9th graders last week. And I always take time to ask them about the school. What do they like? What do they don't like? Well, how could we better support you? Things like that. So I went over what is called like the the school report card. Did they understand that schools are given a report card? None of them knew that we got a report card. So I explained the process and explained kind of like, how things go. And I said, okay, where do you think we favor, right? From A to F, where do you think we are? All of the students said we rated D. So these are 9th graders, and I'm not upset, whatever, because now we have 3 years to fix it. There are a lot of programs that are being put in place with the district, and I'm just here to let you know we have 9th graders out there that believe, and I have a sampling of about 120 that gave us a D, and they had said just based upon where we are. So the programs, and I come here all the time, I believe that we have the opportunity to fix it, but please be aware that this is what our students are saying. I asked them also about who's the principal of the school. 10% knew. The other 90 had no idea who the principal was at Brookside campus. One of the students Googled it to find out who the principal was. And it's been mentioned at this podium that administrators, people need to be out. So it's end of the school year. Next year, please make sure that the students are aware who the principal is. One last thing that I just want to bring up, and I'm not sure if maybe I missed it. I try to make our meetings. If not, I watch them. And I'm not quite sure what happened with this. Maybe I missed it. I want to say Teresa, but I don't want, So there was a goal number 2, and everyone knows that I'm always interested to know what's happening with the blackmail. And in March, there was supposed to be create a cohesive black male student achievement plan for 2023 and 2024 in March. Maybe I missed it. If so, maybe if your staff could point me to it. Okay, that's it. Oh, one last thing, subs. We still need to make sure that there's a plan in place for subs. I'm subbing. There's no de-escalation plan for us. There's a lot of things happening in the schools. I have no idea de-escalation plan, what needs to be put in place. I mean, I can handle things, but for those teachers who cannot, we need to make sure. And with things that are happening in the school, our subs need to be prepared with how to handle de-escalation, how to wear emergency, how to get out of the buildings. And I've come to this podium numerous times talking for subs, and I still don't see it yet. And the students also recognize there are a lot of subs in this school. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final 3 names, Krishana Hannah, Helen Anthopoulos, and Luz Granda. So in that order, Ms. Hannah is first.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all the teachers and staff that made this year successful, because there were a lot of great things that came out of Waukegan this year, so we don't want that. And I see my teacher over there, Miss Klein. I love Miss Klein. She was just great, and I just love that she's still here. But I come here for the board to speak to you guys. And the things that I say are my own opinions, and they have nothing to do with my mother sitting up here. They are not personal for a particular person, even though they are directed towards a particular person. It's about a job and not a person. So what I'm speaking of is the superintendent. I'm speaking to Superintendent Placencia in her role as the superintendent. So I came up here a couple times, and I asked about the superintendent's report. I had the opportunity to visit schools in Indianapolis this past week, and visiting their websites, looking at their websites. I even got a chance to talk with administrators of schools in Indianapolis. And the superintendent has a report from meeting to meeting. And the superintendent talks about the things that happen in between meeting to meeting within the district, what school she went to, the things that are happening within the district, the teachers that she spoke to, problems and that. It's all addressed there. The superintendent's report that we get here is substandard, in my opinion, because it's not given by the superintendent, which to me shows that she's not taking she's not taking a stance that it's important for her to speak to the community. And I am here as a voice of the community that likes to know what's going on within the school district. We put the board here, and we're demanding that there's a job done. There's an expectation of the board to manage their one employee, well, one of two employees, and I'm asking that every board member here sends me in the community or post it somewhere each and every expectation of the superintendent, because this is your employee. What are your expectations of the superintendent? We have a new school year starting, and the superintendent sets the tone. It's not a secret that the schools need some help. There are challenges. And with the expectations set of the superintendent, I believe that everything else will fall into place. The unhappy staff, it can change that. The conversations that the staff are not supported enough, that there are safety issues, that people are not coming to work and performing effectively. If they see the superintendent is held accountable with these things, I think they will do those things accordingly. So what I'm asking is that the superintendent provides the community with a superintendent's report every meeting between meeting to meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Ms. Allen?
I received an email this morning. Thank you so much for being an incredible teacher. When in your class, you would always say that all the content we learned would help us in high school, and it was most definitely true. Thank you for introducing us to great literature, STEM words, and more complex vocab, grammar structures, and always making sure we kept up to date with current events. Next year, I will be studying environmental engineering at Harvard and hope to one day work in the urban vertical farming industry. Although this is a science field, I have been greatly influenced by your class. Thank you for introducing me to the problems in our agricultural system through the Omnivore's Dilemma. It's one of the books that I actually keep referencing in many of my research papers and essays. And once again, thank you for making sure we knew what was going on in the world around us, for we are often too sheltered in our little world that we need to know there are things bigger than us. Through the magazines, the Scholastic magazines, is where I learned about the climate change issue and the Pacific Ocean garbage patch. Thank you so much for caring about our education and for making sure that we were set up for success with your class. But most but most importantly, thank you for being an amazing teacher who cares for her students on a personal level, who is compassionate and understanding and never underestimates students. You have drastically changed the trajectory of my life for the better. I'm eternally grateful. I had this student in middle school. She graduated this year, going off to Harvard. One of many. This is the third time I'm up here. I'm requesting an executive session to talk to all 7 school board members at the same time. I've been here 18 years and had a clean record. Why are our teacher evaluations changed? Why did the principal bring me into the office and question my mental health last year, up to the point where she asked me if I was seeing a counselor or therapist, which is none of her business? And there's more, lots more. And I'm asking to talk to all of you in executive session. I don't think you want me to talk about it in public. I'm not sure why you're not assisting. I received a letter this last week, and it was false information.
Thank you, Ms. Helen. Final name is Luz Granda.
So we're just saying how she's gonna speak first and then I'll interpret sections.
Buenas noches a todas las personas presentes aquí. Gracias por permitirme este tiempo para hablar. Estoy aquí como padre de familia con estudiantes en este distrito número 60. La maestra Ei fue maestra y es maestra de mi hijo. Es la maestra que acaba de pasar. En la actualidad, uno de mis estudiantes está en clases AP y creo que él recuerda mucho las clases de la maestra.
Okay. Good night, everyone. To all the individuals that are present, thank you for allowing me this time to speak. I'm here as a parent with students in District 60. And teacher A, one of my students had teacher A, which is the teachers that just came up right now, and that they have her currently. I have one of my students that was in AP classes, and they remember a lot from those classes.
Hoy yo como padre les pido a todos ustedes, miembros de la Junta, que escuchen a la maestra y concedan la petición que les está haciendo. Lo estoy haciendo yo como un padre del Distrito 60.
So as a parent, I'm asking all of the board members to please provide the request that she has been asking for. And I'm asking you personally as a parent of WPS 60.
Ella merece ser escuchada y merece su atención de todos ustedes. Ella es una buena maestra que trabaja junto a los padres y sus estudiantes para ayudar a que puedan dar lo mejor de ellos. Mi estudiante se encontraba fallando en su clase, tenía una D. Me puse en contacto con ella y ella a través de un email y ella proporcionó toda la ayuda que mi estudiante necesitaba.
So she deserves to be heard and to have your attention. She is a very good teacher who works along with the parents and the students to help them so they can give the best of themselves. my student who was failing the class. He had a D. I got in touch with her through email, and she provided all of the help that my student needed.
Ella me ayudó a comprender y explicó por qué mi hijo estaba fallando. También ha estado pendiente de lo que sus estudiantes necesitan. Además de que mi hijo de high school tiene un excelente resultado en el PSAT, porque ella ayudó mucho. Pedimos trabajo extra para mi estudiante y ella lo dio. Ella merece ser escuchada. Yo como padre también estoy haciendo esta petición a ustedes.
So she helped me understand and explained why he was failing. As well, she also is aware of all of her students and what they need. Also, my son that is in high school, he has excellent results on the PSAT. Because she helped a lot, we asked for extra additional work and she provided it. She deserves to be heard. As a parent, I am also petitioning that you do as well.
Creo que si a ustedes realmente les interesa la educación de los estudiantes de Waukegan, ustedes deben de escuchar a esa maestra. Realmente ella merece su atención. Ella es una excelente maestra.
So if you really care about the education of WPS or Waukegan students, you should listen to this teacher. She deserves to be heard.
Me dio mucha tristeza lo que acaba de mencionar ella, lo que le preguntó a la principal.
I was
Sí.
very upset about what she just mentioned, about what the principal had asked her.
Deberíamos reflexionar en quién realmente necesita terapia psicológica, porque yo hasta donde yo sé, desde que entré a esa escuela, no he tenido el respeto que merezco como padre.
So we should really reflect on who is the one that needs mental help, because as a parent, I feel like I haven't been respected or heard.
En esa escuela es en la que yo más problemas he tenido. Problemas de porque me miran feo, problemas de que si quiere el principal me saluda y si no, no. Es la única escuela. Yo he trabajado muy bien con muchos principales.
So that is one of the schools that I have had a lot of issues. So I might get like nasty looks. The principals might say hi or they might not. Perdón, ¿qué fue lo que dijo? I'm sorry.
Yo realmente les pido que ustedes presten atención a la maestra.
I really do ask that you pay attention to the teacher.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
And just a clarity translation.
Thank you. This concludes our public comment. We do appreciate everyone who spoke. The individuals that had additional things that need to be followed up with. Superintendent, I'm handing this to you because there are 4 names that requested emails. Next up is our physical education public hearing. So this is item 10A, open to the public hearing on physical education waiver request.
It is the recommendation of the Board of Education open the public hearing on the request for the waiver of school code.
Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Nay. So you don't want to open the hearing?
You don't want to hear him out? No, I mean, we can hear him, but I'm not for this physical education waiver.
Okay. So majority, and now we are at B, public hearing on SB K through 5 physical education waiver.
Hi, good evening, Board President, Superintendent, members of the board, and community. This evening, myself and Ms. Mary Olson will be presenting during the public hearing related to WPS 60 seeking renewal of a previously approved PE waiver. Next slide, please. Oh, can you pull up the presentation? The second. Thank you. Just to provide the board and the community with a little bit of background about the waiver history. as it relates to PE and WPS 60. We have a slide when it comes up, there it is, that outlines our history to date. The first waiver request was submitted in, it must have been 2013, 2014, and was approved by ISB. It was a 2-year request that provided a PE waiver for the district for school year 2014, 2015, and 2015, 2016. At the conclusion of that waiver, another waiver was requested for another 2-year period from 2016, 2017 to 2017, 2018. Most recently, our district has had a 5-year PE waiver request that was submitted and approved by ISB, which is expiring in June of this year. We are requesting through ISB another 5-year waiver request that would take us through June of 2028. So that's the background information related to the our
Can
PE
you,
waiver history.
Whole question, Mr. Shington.
Next slide, please. In terms of the rationale for our waiver, the rationale has been unchanged since the district started requesting the waiver several years ago. At the heart of it is really maximizing instructional time in core subject areas, specifically in the areas of arts and math, language arts and math, excuse me. The other rationale, which is more of a physical limitation, is that we have limited building capacity in several of our schools who use their gymnasium also as their cafeteria. So we've listed the schools here. So the board and community has an understanding that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of our middle schools that currently share their cafeteria space and their PE space. Elementary, I'm sorry, my apologies, elementary schools. So our rationale would be to, another portion of our rationale would be that if we were to offer PE daily, which from a space capacity, we don't really have the capacity to do so. It would also increase the number of FTE that we would need in all of our buildings to support PE. Offering PE daily would also require the district to lengthen our school day, which in our current collective bargaining agreement is prohibited. So that's some of our rationale. The next slide speaks to what our alternative plan will be should the rationale be granted. I'm sorry, should the waiver be granted. Per the school code, districts are allowed to limit physical education requirements through the waiver process. Every district has the right to submit waivers related to this. There are several districts within the state of Illinois that do this, especially unit districts. Physical education would still be offered to students, so we're not eliminating physical education. We are just modifying the number of days that it would be offered to students. It would be offered to students on a 4-day rotation for 46 minutes. Students would rotate that course with other special classes that they have: music, art, PE, STEM, etc. Elementary schools, every day, students receive 30 minutes of recess per day, so 150 minutes additional per week of activity. Elementary students also have access to after-school clubs and activities and sports that also contribute to physical activity beyond the regular school day. Our 21st Century Grant, for example, is a grant that supports some of our elementary schools, and they do a lot of after-school programming that involves physical movement. So in total, students receive 196 minutes or 3 hours and 16 minutes of physical activity per week, despite having PE once every 4 days. They are still very active throughout the course of the school day because of these other options that we have. Next slide really just speaks to the timeline. This hearing was rescheduled previously, so our public hearing is scheduled for this evening. We've already done proper notice on the district website. There's been proper notice that's been submitted in newspapers and media outlets. At the conclusion of tonight's hearing, we will be submitting if the board approves, we will be submitting the renewal waiver application to ISB for approval. And that's the conclusion of our presentation.
Mr. Shington.
It's not on.
So this waiver has, I've come, this will be my 4th time on this, and so I will ask the question, since the district, and of course, there's probably only one person here that has been here long enough to gone through all these, but we've gone 9 years using this waiver. We're asking for another 5. As a business, which I'm going to say this is a business, we've done this for 9 years and we don't have a plan to how to change this. Okay, we've known we've had space problems. There's no action plan to change that. There's no action plan to change the collective bargaining with the teacher union so that we can extend the day. Is the policy to continue the waiver? I don't see an end to this, and we're not solving the problem of the students not getting. Yes, there's other activities. The 21st Century Stars, they have access, but if something with your family, then you don't get that activity.
Ms. Fabian and Ms. Lindsay and Ms. Hannah.
So just to your point, as previously as a teacher, I will say that there have been changes made and there are more minutes for PE than there previously were. In the past, it's been PE for one time, per 5 days at 40 minutes. And if you missed your PE time for that day because there was a holiday or a break, that was it. And so when they moved to that encore schedule of doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 days, it allowed for more PE time. Now, I'm not saying that's a complete solution that you're looking for, but I do see that there has been progress made. Also, knowing and being, having been a classroom teacher, the logistics space of it all, it doesn't work. And in 5 years, are we going to be able to build a gym at all 11 elementary schools? I just don't see the capacity that that's going to happen. But again, to your point, that's something that we should be planning out for in the future. I just don't see that logistically that would be possible in 5 years. And Ms. Olson, you can correct me if I'm wrong about the changes.
I've been a student and an employee here for over 50 years. So I'm serving 34 years as a teacher. We've never had daily PE. Okay, I don't think at that time when I was at Clark Elementary School that that was even considered granting a waiver. When I first started, we had 10 classes. It was 20 minutes a time. It was like a revolving door. No breaks until lunchtime. And then that was the only break because you had to clean up, you had to have the cafeteria, the gym as a cafeteria. And then we went to 25 minutes twice a week. 46 minutes right now, this is just my professional opinion, 46 minutes with kindergarten students is a very long time. It's extremely long. But I do think that we could potentially, if we have some foresight, and we make that commitment to maybe do 30 minutes, and then maybe use the gym as the gymnasium, right, and not have it as the cafeteria as well. And maybe we can get modules or something that will service the food and the kids in those modules or what have you. But our kids need physical education. Our kids need to be active daily, and the common denominator is to use the school. I don't know how it's going to work, and personally, I'm retiring in 2 days, so I don't know how. I mean, I'm not going to I'm not going to be the torchbearer for the next 5 or 6 years, okay? But I do think that our kids in our community, I live in this community. I've lived in this community for 56 years, okay? Our kids deserve better. We have phenomenal PE teachers at the elementary level, okay? Phenomenal teachers, okay? But they need support, and they also need a space. I'm not sure that having daily PE or even having PE 3 times a week and trying to get all those kids in the gymnasium, having maybe 3 or 4 classes in the gymnasium with 3 or 4 teachers, to me that's crowd control. I don't think that's PE. So I think that we need to figure out, and if I still remain here as a community member, I will be glad to sit on a committee and try to figure this out as a community member, not as an employee. But I think that our kids deserve to have physical activity for their well-being, okay, for their mental and social, emotional health, okay? But as it stands right now, unfortunately, I would support the waiver just because I don't want to have 56 kids in gymnasium like Lion School, for example, and have it's such a small area, and you're trying to get them active, you're trying to get them to moderate to vigorous physical activity at least half that time. It's impossible. You're going to have lots of kids in the nurse's office. So again, I don't know what the solution is, but I think we need to have a committee to try to figure out how we can get this to have kids be active. Those kids that are good in sports, they're going to go out for sports. Physical activity, physical education, and athletics are not the same thing. Right. Okay, every kid needs to be physically active, and it needs to be for a lifetime. Right. That's just my opinion.
Miss Lindsay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to be completely transparent, and I do have several questions, so forgive me. But it is very frustrating that this waiver has been in place for multiple years with no proactivity on behalf of the district. I'm just joining the board. I'm frustrated. And I get your point that we will essentially need to do this waiver, but this district seriously needs to do something better about it because we've had how long to do it. And to Mr. Shinkton's point, this is the exact same thing. I'm echoing exactly what you've been pointing out to us. Where in the capital improvement plan is this? Is it even on the list? If it's not, it better be. That's my personal opinion. And I understand that some of the structures around this is compensating with extra recess. Have you watched elementary school recess or extra recess?
During the day, no. But
has anyone
my
here,
son
do you mind, do you feel comfortable coming to the podium? If not, that's totally fine. Can you explain how many of the students are physically active during these recess periods?
Good evening. I have been an elementary teacher for the past 30 years. Now I'm at the high school. And I tell you, children go out there because I had to be out there to do recess duty. If I wasn't going out there with a rope and a ball to make sure they play and run around, they would just stand around doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And nowadays with the phones, it is completely a disaster. So I understand what you're saying. I understand the proposal, but I think I agree with you. It needs to be put in place immediately. We need to make a change. Our student board said, or our student board member said, change. We need a change in this district. I was raised in Waukegan. Mm-hmm. I came from Columbia, and I love Waukegan. I am a teacher because I love my community. Yes. But we need to do more for our students. We really do. And I get too emotional, so.
No, I'm on the same page as you. I do appreciate you coming up because even as a parent, my kid comes home and I'm like, oh, what'd you do? How was recess? Oh, I sat and I cried because no one wanted to play with me.
Exactly.
And that can't happen. And it is a mental health aspect as well, and it's a physical health aspect. And we need to look at what diseases are plaguing our children nationally, globally. Diabetes is one of them. Congenital heart failure. I am so sorry, ma'am.
Now,
but
they go
it's
to
just
middle
like-
school and then they go to the high school and there's no recess. It's
Right.
very different then.
Right,
So.
right. And then I understand that we're looking to maximize gains in reading and math. The data hasn't shown that that strategy has been working. Right, and I'm so excited that we're trying to tackle the science of reading. That's where my expertise for 10 years has been, so that's a separate piece. I wonder, have we tried, Dr. Nault, to partner with the Park District in any way? I know we had the swim one night for, I think it was our second graders, but how many opportunities have we looked to explore to see what we can do in the interim until we can get our facilities in a place where kids can have more actual physical education?
I don't know the answer to that. I honestly don't.
And that's fair.
And I would say that when I came into the district, the waiver was already in place. I do think I think Mary has a valid point about establishing a committee to kind of lead and drive some of the conversations around this.
Yeah.
I think that would be important moving forward.
Awesome. I'm glad you're on the same page. And just really quick, can you refresh on when the deadline is that we have to have this applied by? I don't believe I caught that.
There's not a specific deadline.
Okay.
We wanted to have the public hearing and provide the board with information, the committee with information prior to the next school year because the waiver does expire in June 30th of this year.
Yeah.
So we could begin to plan and prepare for next year, or message to our principals and schools what will be happening. So
Understood. We want to be proactive. And my frustration is definitely not directed to you or Ms. Olson or anyone individually. It's just as a collective, this is a trend in the district that we're not being proactive. We're not looking for what problems are coming our way or what solutions we need to have in place. So I apologize if you took it any
Not at
certain
all.
way. It was
Not at
not
all.
directed at you.
Not at all.
That's my time. Thank you.
Miss Anna,
Okay,
can you use the mic, Miss Anna?
our elementary students need activity. And as Ms. Lindsay started, we have to be very mindful of our the health of our children. The obesity, juvenile diabetes, the habitual lethargy, because they're on the phones, the screen time. The Surgeon General just came out with the statement about how the social media is messing with the mental minds of our children. And you know, just because we can get a waiver doesn't mean that we should get a waiver.
Correct.
Okay, I don't believe in removing the activities for children. And there was a comment in there about the increase in the FTEs, the full-time teachers, right? Well, you know what? That was one of the reasons from the beginning that we kind of went for the waivers. And a lot of people lost their jobs because of these waivers, these PE waivers, okay? And I just believe that, as it has already been said, that instead of just continually getting these waivers just because we can get them, we need to come up with a plan. Our children deserve better. PE, I mean, it helps children vent. It removes the built up stress. Just it relaxes them. You know, all the things that the teachers you know, have to deal with in the classroom. They're the activities. And so just because this is something easy to get, it doesn't mean that we should get it.
Mr. Sabeki.
Sit down. There you go. A couple things, like Ms. Hannah said. I've been in the medical field for 15 plus years. And that's one of the biggest things, is these kids nowadays are not getting the physical activity that they need. It's electronics, video games, and that's all it is. You know, I was born and raised here, 43 years in this district. You know, all those schools on that list, I think just about every one of them, if not every one of them, years ago, we just put additions on every one of those buildings and put classrooms in. That should have been part of that plan. And that's my point. Students should become first. And this is the thing. We're more worried about an administration building at 214 Washington Street for $15+ million to do that. How many gymnasiums or cafeterias could we have built to solve this problem? The kids are not getting exercises that they need. When they go home, a lot of parents are still working. It's kids right on video games. You know, we put the minutes of how many minutes they get of physical activity. How many minutes of electronics do they get even within our buildings? We talk about the academics to give more academic time. Look at our report card net. A lot of our kids ain't even meeting those requirements. We have to do something. This should have been a top priority of the district a long time ago. There's a lot of people up here that sit on this board that have been up here for a long time. This should have been a topic. We talk about the students first. You know, when we presented that at the city council meeting with the tiers and everything, it should be about the students, because obesity is very high amongst our youngsters right now. Diabetes is very high. Why do you think so many sport events, youth baseball games, soccer fields and everything, AEDs are being put in at all these places? I don't know if any one of you have ever done CPR on a child before. I have numerous times, and it's not a pleasant sight.
Heart disease.
So it should be a top priority of this district. Let's stop the shenanigans in that, and let's start putting these children and their education first.
So that we can take the recommendation back to the capital improvement committee in regards to how do we facilitate more gyms. I do just a couple clarifications for our families at home watching or stakeholders that are not in our school every day. Our gyms are used as multi-purpose rooms. So not only are they gyms, but they're also lunch rooms at these schools. And that's why there's a competing force on what that space will be utilized. So this is a space issue, which also comes down to an equity issue. And there's a lot of competing interest on what should go first, what should go second. We had capital improvement. The capital improvement plan has now been in place, I believe now 4 years. So it definitely tells you what's happening year 1, year 2, year 3. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed in our district. We have roofs, we have parking lots as you drive through and your car sinks through. We have furnaces, air conditioning was a big initiative, just painting of the facilities, groundkeeping. So there are a lot of competing interests. It's really, we have to have that discussion, what comes first, what comes second. We also heard about our track. Our track is only have, I believe she said 6 lanes, am I correct? It should have 8. That has been in existence ever since, and I will tell you, I believe we repaved it, I don't see Mr. Moulton, year 2, and it's already deteriorating because it all needs to be ripped out. We need turf field. I mean, but that's a massive, massive project. And when we looked at just previously, the board had approved the repairs on Brookside's roof. I think that was a couple $1 million. Don't hold me, I think 2 or 3.
10.
Sorry, 10. $10 million for a roof.
10 million.
And so, and it's because I don't want to say we patched and patched and patched, well, we can no longer patch any longer. And that's why we have all these life safety violations that if we didn't tackle, could be at some point that our schools are shut down. So now you see all this construction and repatching, air conditioning in classrooms, furnaces, roofing, windows. You drive by schools, you see new windows. That there's a pool of money, and we just have to decide what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. I'm not stating what should come first, second, or third, but it is something that we can take back to the capital improvement committee. I do know a few board members sit on that committee, but this is a space issue. We just do not have the space for this with the competing interest of lunchroom at the same time in that same facility, right? So I do like the idea of the committee. I'm a proponent. Everybody knows I'm really into sports and believe that kids should be moving constantly. I mean, healthy is great, and we want to keep them moving, but under the current circumstances, this is what we're up against. We just do not have the facilities to host this type of activity on a daily basis. Am I correct, Ms. Olson?
And if I may,
Can I say something though?
Yes, Mr. Riddle. And
I've
then
been
Ms.
listening to
Hannah,
what everybody
only if
says,
it's
and
added to.
I wholeheartedly agree. You know, with everything that's been said as far as our kids needing exercise, and I heard Ms. Lensing say something about why don't we consider partnering with our very good park district, and have these kids outside with activity. A year ago, I went to Alaska, and one of the things I heard in Juneau was that they were very proud of the fact that kids in Juneau, Alaska are outside every single day, and they are the healthiest kids because of that. They're outside every day. Maybe we could partner with our park district and have activities outside every day for our kids. Just another possibility. But I think we need a committee to do something like this and to get our kids. I certainly agree. Our kids need to be outside. They need to be off their phones. I recently came from England, and they do not let, in London, in one of the school districts that one of my relatives goes to, an elementary school, elementary middle school, they do not let the kids have a smartphone. They can have a flip phone to contact their parents. It's just another idea, you know, so kids are not on that phone all the time. They still can contact their parents for emergencies and stuff like that, but they cannot use a smartphone in school. It's not allowed. There's lots of other solutions. I think we need a committee. I wholeheartedly agree. This is something our board and our school should be looking at. We should be looking at the crisis of childhood diabetes, the fact that kids are not getting, they're spending way too much time, as Ms. Hannah recently mentioned at our graduation. Parents need to be concerned. The studies now are showing kids' mental health is being impacted by social media, by too much time spent on their phones. So we need to take all these things into consideration, I think. But in the meantime, what I'm hearing from the superintendent is maybe we need to go ahead and approve this waiver, because all this other stuff will take some time and some planning, but it's high time, as Mr. Savecki said, that this board and this school start looking at and considering how we're going to deal with the crisis that many of our kids are facing. Because they don't get enough activity and they're not outside enough.
and Mr. Moulton, I'm gonna look for your help, okay? Because when we did those additions in 2013, we added multi-purpose rooms, okay, in the schools. And I'm not real sure how many of the schools got the multi-purpose rooms.
Well, I know that it was Washington Elementary, so they have a huge gym.
Right.
They do not have they don't use that gym as a cafeteria. They use a smaller gym.
Right.
And then also Whittier, and then Glen Flora. Glen Flora does not have as large a gym,
right,
that they added to, but those three schools are the only schools that I
think that
got like a large gym.
Okay, and also the fact that you know, with these with the lack of activity with our students, right? I would be more agreeable to the waivers, right? If they were talking about waivers in the upper grades, the middle schools, the high schools, okay. But we're talking about waivers for our elementary kids, and that's where the kids really need the activity. Because middle school and high school, they're going to get their activities, okay? But we need to focus on making sure that our elementary kids are getting the activities that they need. And I will be, I will volunteer to be on the committee with you.
Mr. Sabeki.
And I just want to make one more point. We also got to realize, this being a top priority. In schools, a lot of these kids, that's the only activity they get. A lot of parents, will not even let their kids go outside when they're at home. If no one's noticed, the violence within our communities, the gunshots daily.
Right.
A lot of parents won't even let their kids go outside. So this, in school, is the only time a lot of these kids get activity outside and are able to play. And I will also volunteer myself to be on that committee. And Mary Olson, if you leave, that's why they created Zoom. You ain't getting out that.
Yeah, my comments, and I'll be brief. I support the waiver. I know, being on the capital improvement committee, it's about how many different things are moving. We just heard we need a new school, right? That's not a cheap endeavor. If a roof is $10 million, times that by a lot. And that is the type of money that we're talking about spending and approving. There was a quote, and until that's made public, I'm going to tell you, when you see the cost to redo the track in order to get it to where it actually needs to be, we are talking multiple millions of dollars. And so it is about giving our students the facilities that they deserve, but it's about doing it in a sustainable way and without raising taxes dramatically. So I believe that one solution in partnering with the Park District, setting up the committee so that if we do a 5-year waiver, in 5 years we'll have a plan for how we can go to increase the PE. And then also looking at, and I mentioned this 6 years ago when I got on the board, didn't have the support at the time, but it was about structured PE. I mean, not structured PE, structured recess.
Yes.
Right, I think there's a happy medium. Right now we're piloting a program where we have stipends for parents who work in the schools as volunteers. Give those opportunities to pay those individuals who are already in the schools to do structured recess, to engage with students versus just supervise students. And by doing that, you can increase, because we were, before the state mandated that you had to have recess every day, this Board of Education, previous to me, made the decision that Waukegan Public Schools would have recess every day, which was an important step in the right direction for physical activity. So now we want to make sure that when those kids are at recess, again, that's a time for many teachers to take a break unless they're on duty. So how can we partner with either other organizations in order to create a structured recess so that we accomplish the concerns of students not being active during recess? So I will say is I support the waiver. I hear what the community is saying. It is about priorities and it's about money. In that if we prioritize it, what else are we taking off the table? And that's a discussion for the community and the Board of Ed. But I will say at this point, unless there anybody who hasn't spoken that wants to add to the conversation.
Yeah, I wanna.
But you've spoken, Ms.
Yeah,
Anna.
but I still want.
President
to speak
Ewing?
But
because I
you've
got
you've
something
had
else to
your
say.
but you've had the opportunity to speak, and it's already 8:48. Go ahead, Ms. Olson.
Go ahead, because I'm still gonna say what I gotta say.
Yeah, and I'm ending the meeting at 9:30. Go ahead, Ms. Olson.
We do have, in the past, we've used brain break activities that classroom teachers have utilized. Mary Culver and I educated the principals several years ago, and we also gave them kits that they could do to get the kids moving, crossing the midline, doing various things that did not take a lot of time, but that engaged the kids in to get their brain ready to do an activity and ready to do academic activity.
Right.
So we have done things like that, and I would encourage the board to maybe revisit that so that the new teachers can be on board with that as well.
Right. And all I was gonna say, Mr. President, was that our school district received just about 70 some million dollars of ESSER money for our students. And if we had have been planning and looking at things as true priority, we could have had our track done.
Couldn't spend.
We could have had a whole lot of things done that would benefit children.
So when that was presented, I asked each board member to go through and take off what they wanted to. Again, the budget is not a zero-sum game. For everything, we have more things that we need to do than we have money to do it. That is a fact. I'm not making
got
this.
$100 million
Okay, I'm not going to argue the
reserve.
point. Go ahead, Mr. Hinojosa. Sorry, I didn't see you back
No, yeah, it's perfectly fine. Okay, so I've been sitting and hearing this conversation for, I don't know how long we've been talking. I know it's been a while, and I know everyone's tired, so I'm going to make my stuff brief. I feel that there's a lot going on here, going from one side of the stakeholders to the other one. Should we do new revamps on this? Should we do an equity standpoint? Should we give gym the entire time for elementary school students? Should we rethink how gym is done and our recesses? And obviously, there's been a lot of discussion within the last, 20 minutes. And obviously, Dr. No, I know it's a lot of bombardment to you and like trying to answer those questions, right? But I feel through a student perspective that, yes, on behalf of the students, we do believe that physical education is important. And I feel that specifically K through 5th, I feel that students should have the opportunity to go outside and do exercise or what they see as fitness, right? Now, me personally, I didn't do that when I was in elementary school, right? In recess, I kind of sat down and read my books. So I'm not the targeted audience for this. But for every other student that wants to go run outside, wants to be active, that should be a right. It's really that simple. I don't know why we should be arguing about that in the first place, and that should be the basis of the conversation. End of story. But for specifically this waiver, I feel like on behalf of the students, I feel like we agree that it should be accepted. Because at the end of the day, if we don't, then we got to figure out something else, and that's going to become another issue that we're going to spend another 30, 40 minutes discussing. And we're just going to keep on rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. So I feel for now, we should totally agree with this waiver, but within those 5 years, when it comes to the 2027-2028 school year, we should have some sort of thing fixed. Because if in 5 years you cannot fix something, that is very concerning in my opinion, specifically for a school district. So I feel, to the point of making this brief, that there should be a committee, as every board member has discussed. I feel that student voice should be implemented, because we talk about the students, but I kind of don't hear a student talking, which is what concerns me just a little, and that's why I'm talking right at the moment. But I feel that bringing students into this conversation is just, I know, another stakeholder, and there's so much, and it's overwhelming, but adding the actual people that are getting affected, I do not care if they're 7, 8-year-olds, that they can come in and say, oh, we want gym every day, or we want gym 2 or 3 times. If we ask them what they want, we would have had an easier response to this than spending about 40 minutes discussing this. So I feel that right now a committee would make sense, that being able to bring the stakeholders together and figure out a way to fit elementary school students and having that PE, that physical movement, because it's important to be physical, even though I didn't do that when I was in elementary school, but that's a whole different story. But for the student perspective, we feel that this waiver should work for now as a patch, but you cannot keep patching items over and over and over again, thinking that it's going to get fixed, because that's just the definition of insanity. I feel that for now, we'll do the waiver. It makes sense. I feel like for now, it's bandage. But after that waiver, it makes sense to, one, bring the students on board on this, elementary school, and high school, discuss that conversation, bring stakeholders from the community, from the board, any type of stakeholder that's necessary, and figure something out. May that be changing our PE to every day. May that be figuring out structured recess. May that be adding actual cafeterias to our elementary schools, because why is that even a topic of discussion, in my opinion? Why do elementary schools not have cafeterias? But that's a whole different issue. And how do we figure out for our high schools and middle schools, because obviously that's a whole different story. But I feel that's also a topic of discussion that should be added onto this if there was a committee formed. So obviously for obviously timing, because it's about to be 9. I feel that students should be involved in this. Waiver works for now. Make the committee and figure something out within the next 5 years. And obviously, everyone's been saying they volunteer themselves for this committee. I also volunteer myself for the committee, and any other student that wishes to figure this out. I don't care how old they are at this point. But if they're able and want to, we could bring real change here. And slowly but surely, we could figure something out.
Thank you. With that, I'd like a motion to close the public hearing on
So moved.
the waiver request. Motion by Mr. Riddle, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The hearing is now closed. Now we have D, the authorization to submit application for physical education waiver. Superintendent.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or designee to submit the completed waiver application to ISB by the prescribed timeline.
It is the recommendation of the administration that I motion as the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to submit the completed waiver application to ISB by the prescribed timeline and establish the creation of a full day PE or a elementary PE committee to evaluate this issue and come with recommendations within the next 2 years for implementation, possible implementation at the end of this waiver request.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Riddle. Got the motion, Kathy. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
No.
Ms. Lensing,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. So we have the consent agenda. These items have been previously presented and discussed. We've had opportunities for questions. Attachments are there with the additional information for community and board review. Are there any letters? Just give me the letters that any board members would like to have voted on separately.
Yeah. A, B, I, M, S, T, U, C, C, J, J, K, K, M, M, and I do see Miss Klein. Did you come to talk about D? No? Okay, never mind then. Do not add D.
A motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items A, B, I, M, S, T, U, L, L. What's this, Superintendent?
JJ.
That's a J?
Yeah.
J, J, K, K,
MM.
and M, M.
I'm like a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lensing,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Now we're back up to item 11A, WHS National Institute for Urban School Leaders 5-Day Institute.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve 4 WHS leadership team members to attend the National Institute of Urban School Leaders Institute in Cambridge, Massachusetts on July 23rd through the 28th. The expected total cost is $31,488.61, which includes registration, lodging, travel, and meal per diem rate.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I have questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Lindsay.
So I had submitted as requested 4 questions that I would just like answered for the public as we discuss this. Do we have a representative to talk to these? Ah, there you are. I apologize.
Here it is. Here it is.
Okay, thank you.
Just give it back.
I very briefly. That's why I definitely want to go over these ones. These were my bigger ones. Do you just want me to read the questions, or do you just want to go through what you prepared?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I can just go ahead and read the question and then read the response.
That
later.
works
Yep,
for me.
absolutely. So as far as the professional development for the National Institute for Urban School Leaders 5-Day Institute, what is the evidence-based and or research-based practices does this follow? As far as the National Institute for Urban Leaders, they do follow their principal center's core vision, right? So that is the research that they had in looking through this and adding this to it and going back 20 years. It's within that principal center, right? There are concerns around limited focus. There are concerns around limited focus on systematic issues, of which Waukegan is victim to, and or lack of diversity and representation, which Waukegan is full of. Why would this be the best use of our funding when these aspects are lacking? If they're not, please provide a specific resource. So the response is, the intent of sending this team of leaders is to create a common base of learning from which our curriculum, instruction, and assessment team can address these systematic improvements. This training specifically is intended in planning to allow us to learn effective systems and plan for improvements of our systems related specifically and explicitly to our CIA, which is our curriculum, instruction, and assessment within our Pillar 1 of our high school.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yes.
So are high school student or teachers also involved in the curriculum mapping or curriculum planning or curriculum writing?
Yes, absolutely. Within the plan itself, within this first year, the goal of this first year is to have common final exams across all of our courses. So our teachers do work, and they work collaboratively on that within all of their courses. Going into next year, it's about having the common vision within making sure that all of our resources that we have are aligning to our assessments within backward design. Going into our third year, it's about our common summative assessments and within at the end of each unit. And so we're really ensuring that if a student is taking Algebra 1 on this side of the hallway, right, in the same course, on the other side of the hallway with a different teacher, that our students have the same experience and they have the same assessments. So when the school eventually, at the end of our 5-year plan, having common formative assessments, that we're able to have dialogue around student achievement. And it's really about systematizing school across campuses and in some courses across campuses so that that dialogue could happen. So the systems and structures are really about the commonalities of that. In which there have been different assessments, right? And also different philosophies of our educators of what our assessment will have on it. Some just multiple choice, and some feel, well, I would like writing to be the ultimate form, right, of students showing what they can know and be able to do. So that's just within that CIA pillar. And this team is really about that. And that includes my team as well as the coordinators within discipline and the assistant principals at the high school, the CIA assistant principals. They are the leaders and the instructional leader of our chairs, which also work very collaboratively with the coordinators and within the departments.
So is it that the current leadership is not prepared to do the plan and need to go to this conference to develop those skills to do so?
No, that's not it at all.
Okay.
As far
I
as
just
the
wanna make sure
intention
I'm
of wanting to
understanding
go.
correctly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more about further development of us, and kind of even in responding to this, it's a lot of work. It's great work, and it's gentle pressure relentlessly applied for the work, and keeping the vision really tunnel vision, really laser focused with a tunnel vision, because of the fact there are so many different things that pull us in many directions. And I would speak to this even as a principal. This team keeps it very focused for our teachers, so we don't overcomplicate things and put too much on their plate. With this 5-year plan, we know we're focusing on this and this is it. And so how do we continue to develop our professional development so that it's really laser focused for them in a plan that also has 4 other pillars that pull at the time for our staff. So hopefully that answers at least that part of the question.
I have a question.
Sure.
And so, what was wrong with what was going on before for the students? What was wrong? You say the system. What was wrong with the system before that you are reforming the system?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that anything was wrong per se, to answer it like that. However, to speak from my heart, there are a lot of, our students need a lot. And we say it up here. And they need a lot of support, whether it be around movement and their heart. They need to be literate. They need to be problem solvers. They need to have all these courses before they graduate. And we have added we've added many things to our plate. And sometimes it's possible, and this is just me speaking and answering, it's possible that we may have lost the core value of how we work collaboratively together and how we lean in around common assessments and how we really, in best practice, do that. And there's been misfortunes at our high school, right, in the passing of leaders. And so I don't think it's one thing, Miss Hannah. I don't.
Okay, I understand your answer, but what is confusing me is that you actually just talked about team building, and we have to expend $31,000, just about $500 to get team building.
Well, it's about
and
professional
why can't
development.
we do that here?
I didn't necessarily say as far as team building for us. We work really well as a team. It's about planning and being pushed further. It's at the end of the day, if it's something that you all do not deem that is important, I respect that. This is just something that we're proposing as aligned in our plan to push our thinking as leaders. And I personally do subscribe that leaders are the levers of shifts and change, and I think that everything rises and falls on leadership. And if the right leaders are leading the right buildings, I really do firmly believe that we can move mountains with that. It's going to take a lot of work. This is just a professional development that we're seeking your approval, and if it's not approval, okay.
So, for the sake of time, because I do want to make sure it's 9:07, I told the board at 9 o'clock, from board member service as well as employees, May is busy with closing the school years, et cetera, et cetera. Ms. Lindsay was correct in asking the questions previously. Ms. Lindsay, I'm asking you, is it okay, and with the concurrence and permission of the board, that we would find a way either through board docs to post your questions and comments? We can still take any of these items one at a time if there's something that you feel that you either want to vote yes or no to. But there are a lot of items that we're voting on separately. And so the last conversation took an hour, which was important, around the waiver request for the PE. All of this is important, but I do think that the superintendent also is, we want to vote on these things in order to either say yes or no to help with the plan coming up. And so the two things that we are doing as a board is we can hold these items over, which I don't recommend, but we can vote on these items separately, and each member vote their conscience. I also think, that there were great questions, and so if it's for transparency, would allowing access to see the questions and the answers suffice with the request for transparency.
Okay, and I do mean this respectfully. There's no disrespect intended in this, but I did not set the agenda to put items A through, what are we at, RR, on the consent agenda, right? And I did get this information at like 4 p.m. today after I had some time to wrap my head around AA through what was UU, then shortened to RR. So I would prefer to hold over unless there's any urgent items that are time sensitive within the listing.
So, Dr. Cesario, I do want to state we've held, and I don't know which items they are, we've held a number of items over. I do want to publicly state that some of these items, if we hold over, we will not be ready to open school. And I don't want that to be the team that the bag that my team holds, because we need this stuff to get moving for the following year. Orders need to go out, shipment needs to come in, it needs to be inventoried. I do believe the board president did state during student achievement that we've held over things prior. I do understand that you need time to look at the items, but I just publicly want to state that we are bringing this to the board. We've held this before, and there are many items on here that we will not be ready for the beginning of the school year, and it will affect the opening school year and instruction within the buildings. And as long as that's clear and the board knows that holding this over, there's no accountability on our part, but it's the accountability of the board that understands that we will not be ready for the beginning of the year.
So,
and I'm sorry, Ms. Lindsay, we're on the A. We've approved the majority of them, right? So we are now talking about very specific things. So we're talking about A is still a few, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 items. So we do have a motion and a second for A. And I guess if any individual wants to withdraw said motion. So we can take A and then I can entertain.
No, I was on.
Oh.
I went to take a break, a restroom break.
I think
I think.
made the motion.
Motion and second.
Who made the second? Oh, you.
Ms. Gonzalez made the second. Mr.
For the
Riddle
whole
made.
list, though, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, we're back at A.
For A.
Oh, okay. See, that's where I'm.
A is the same.
Yeah. I didn't motion for just A.
I'm not
I
sure.
motioned for the list.
Was that Fabian?
I did.
It's the same. You
No, it
made
was
you made the
Adriana.
motion. Ms. Gonzalez made the second.
Ms. Gonzalez
it was
made the
her.
second.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So item 11A, WHS.
So nothing has been approved.
Nothing has been approved since you left.
I had a whole bathroom break, guys.
Yeah. So we're at A.
Oh,
So right
okay,
now, are
okay.
you wanting to withdraw your motion?
No.
No. Let's go.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
No.
Ms. Lensing.
Pass.
President Ewing.
Yes. We're now at 11B, which is 95 core phonics and grades 3 through 5 for 2023-2024 school year. Before I ask for the motion, Superintendent, is this one time sensitive?
Yes.
All right. Item 11B, if you can read the recommended action.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent or her designee to approve 95% core phonics for grades 3 through 5 as Tier 1 phonics program aligned to the research in the amount of $199,990.80.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hannah, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes, and this goes to for you, Dr. Cesario, our science of reading.
Yes.
Passed the House, the Senate, and was signed by the governor.
Congratulations.
So we are getting ahead of the game.
Yes.
With our phonics, and I'm glad.
And thank you for your advocacy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so this is everything that has to do with the phonics, the
That's correct.
science of reading, all of that stuff is it's right on time and ahead of the game because ISB has been charged with making sure all school districts in Illinois are doing science of reading.
Thanks for your support on that.
Any other comments or questions related to item B?
Just a quick comment. Can you, Dr. Cesario, explain to the public how it is different, or someone on your team, how it's different from Orton Gillingham so that they see that it's not duplicative?
Yeah, absolutely. So Orton Gillingham is a framework. It's a multisensory approach to teaching word reading. This is a phonics program that addresses the grade level 3rd through 5th grade foundational standards, which include multisyllabic words and accessing complex text. And this will help teachers provide explicit structured literacy around those specific standards and allow them to increase reading comprehension.
The
Which is a
5 pillars.
big part of it. Thank
Yes.
you. That's all the only question I had.
One question on that. Any other board members? Any question on that item? Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. We're now at item 11I, approval of the super eval tool.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the purchase of super eval in the amounts of $17,145.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Hannah. Any comments or questions?
I have, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms.
First.
Lindsay.
Oh, okay. So with this tool, I see based on my questions, which will be made transparent to the public, that it's going to be the first time that we're using it. So where did the desire to have this tool come from?
I think that's a great question. Do you have a follow-up, Ms. Hannah, or should I answer that first?
Well,
Do you want to wait till I answer, or it's up to you? Go ahead. All right.
The super eval actually came from me, and what I learned through attending webinar for with ISB, and actually the super eval is for just what it says, superintendent eval. It's for the superintendent. That's what the super eval is. I mean, I don't know what you all are intending to use it for, but it actually is a tool for the superintendent's evaluation.
So I'm just going to add on to that. So that may be true. Jason's the expert in this area because he's the one who totally vetted it. But in terms of how this was developed, it was developed along the lines of our framework for success. So how we're focusing on creating pathways so people understand what their roles are, what their goals are, setting goals, and making the evaluation process much more aligned to their roles. And so this will also help us. And again, I can't speak to the superintendent piece. I'm sure that's what it is. There's an aspect of that, but part of what we're trying to use it for is to align to the framework for success so that we can get really specific with our evaluation tool. And so that it'll align right to the framework for success, that piece where we're guiding folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
It's a
we just want to
guide.
make it much more clear for folks, and this should allow us to do that.
Absolutely.
And this can't be applied for teachers or district staff, hence the need for the other tool as well?
So the one that we use right now, so there's another program in Power School, right? And so that's aligned to what the para requirements are. So it's already outlined for the principals. For us at the cabinet level, we thought it was important. I think that was something that the board actually asked for a few years ago in developing the framework for success is how are we accountable? What are the goals of each division? What are the goals of the departments? What are the goals of the individuals? And then how we can tailor those evaluations, because what we currently have and what we've had for the past 5, 6, 7 years was not always, it didn't align to what the job descriptions were.
So I can help. One is for teacher evaluation. This is for all administrators in your district's evaluation.
Okay.
Right, I understood that, but I just wanted to make sure that this could not in the future be adjusted to allow for a one and done tool from top to bottom, because that would be financially responsible. Thank you.
No, and let me ask the question. Now, the teacher evaluations, principal evaluations are dictated by statute. And
Correct.
so we are not, you're not going to pass over any of the statutes
No,
to
of
use
course not.
this because
No.
when I asked about this, okay, when I asked about the super eval, okay, my intentions, okay, being transparent, it was solely for what you just said, helping with the roles, the goals, and all of that for the superintendent.
Okay.
I know. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm being transparent.
Yeah, thank you. With that, if there are no further questions, roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lansing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We're now at M. It's actually, I'm sorry. Can we go down on the agenda? I'm gonna jump around. Going all the way down, all the way down. Keep going. Keep going. Under personnel, we have the approval. Item 14F for personnel for 5/23/23.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education accept the administration's recommendation to approve the appointments, retirements, and accept the resignations, leave of absence as found on schedules F1002, G660, L949, and 9801, with the exception of the third name of non-certified schedule F1002.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fabian. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Lindsay.
It's very concerning to see how many people are leaving our district. It's very concerning to see the amount of concerns listed and even no reason given. Some of these people have been with us for a very long time. And some people, even a short time. And I really hope that we start paying attention to the reasons why these individuals are leaving the district and try to figure out how to encourage them or encourage how we operate this district so that they feel like Waukegan is home. Because Waukegan is my home. I am not going anywhere. My voice isn't going to go anywhere. But I would love to see my children see the great teachers that I've had. I don't know if you're going to be around, Ms. Klein, but that's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you retire while I'm up here, I'm going to be sad. So those are my general thoughts. It's just sad to see.
And I have a comment. And as the resignations are very troublesome to me, and I am requesting, and hopefully with the concurrence of the board, that we do an employee audit of the district to see where our employees are, what we need as a district, and to make it effective, efficient, so that we could do our service to our children. And so if we need a discussion on it, I hope we can do that. But I think that it's time that we start looking at what's going on with our district staff. All staff.
I'd like to add a small comment.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Partially attached to what has already been said, I'm really sad to see some veteran employees leave. It was shared with us earlier today that, our operations team, which is celebrating their end of the year celebration in a couple days, sometimes they feel underappreciated, unseen. All the capital improvement projects that have just been mentioned earlier today, that would be a tremendous asset to the district. Take a lot of hard labor, manual labor, intensive conceptualizing, and a lot of times when we debate about where money goes and when we debate why capital improvements and not this or that, I just want to let them know that they don't go unseen. Everyone from the groundskeepers to our janitors to our construction workers. They're the reasons why our students have a school building to be in and to learn in. And I think the more that we appreciate them in our words, we'll start to kind of change the culture of the district. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know people go on and they move on to a different phase of their life, and you know they have every right to do that. But I think people leave because they feel underappreciated in the work that they do because it's in the construction of a building that's not really a person, right? So yeah, I just wanted to put that on the table.
Thank you for those comments. Again, roll call vote.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We have a few administrative appointments.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Anisha Barber, who previously served as the executive team assistant at Lincoln Center. She will now serve as the interim manager of procurement and contract with a starting salary of $75,000. Congratulations, Ms. Barber. Our next appointee is Ms. Kayla Carey, who previously served as the assistant principal at Edith Smith. She will now serve as the assistant principal at Whittier with a starting base salary of $74,500. Congratulations, Ms. Carey. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Irvin Jerry, who previously was the manager of Youth Conservation Corps Development in Waukegan, Illinois. He will now serve as the assistant principal at AOEC with a starting salary of $95,000. Congratulations, Mr. Jerry. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Amanda Null, who previously served as the co-principal at Lewis Middle School. Now she will now serve as the assistant director of teaching and learning post-secondary with a starting salary of $107,000. Congratulations, Ms. Null.
Oh, that didn't work. There you go.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jose Salazar, who previously served as the assistant principal at Oakdale Elementary. He will now serve as the interim principal at Clearview Elementary with a starting base salary of $102,400. Congratulations, Mr. Salazar. Gracias.
Congratulations.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Robert J. Adamik, who previously served as a facility manager at Woodlawn School District. He will now serve as the director of operations and maintenance shop with a starting salary of $125,000. Congratulations, Mr. Adamik.
Yes, you've heard it all.
It says here, it's like second, first grandchild,
Okay.
All right. If we can have go back to the consent agenda, we are at item 11M, which is the purchase of pre-K through 12 school supplies.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the purchase of various school supplies to be given out at the back-to-school resource fair in the amounts of $101,436.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have a question?
Yeah, I got a question. Now, we're spending $1,000 on supplies. So does that mean that we are not going to be sending supply lists home to parents?
Go ahead, Ms. Fields.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tasia Fields, Director of Equity and Inclusion, and I supervise the FACE department. Can you repeat your question, Ms. Hannah? I'm sorry.
We're spending this $101,000. Are we still going to be sending supply lists home for parents?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. Well, this is supplementary. This is not covering the entire gambit of school supplies. This is in partnership with the donations that we receive from United Way for our back-to-school resource fair. So we can't rely on them to supply all of our supplies, but we're hoping to get as many as possible.
Okay, but I asked this question at our student achievement meeting. Dr. Cesario, about the warehouse. Do we know what's in the warehouse?
So I know that the FACE department has taken inventory of all supplies that we currently have, and so that is taken into account.
In the warehouse?
Whatever that we have as far as school supplies, backpacks, consumable resources, things that would be included in this purchase. Yes, we have inventory.
Y'all going around my question.
I'm not. I'm referring to
the warehouse. Do we know what, if any of these supplies?
Not to my
are
knowledge.
in the warehouse?
No, none of these supplies are in the warehouse.
Go ahead, Ms. Fabian. You previously led the department.
So I can answer that as former FACE. We did not send anything to the warehouse. FACE had a closet here in Lincoln Center where all of the items were sent. So those items weren't there.
I appreciate that.
And just to add also, if you look, the packets that are being purchased, there are about 14,500 students in the district. The packets are only for about close to 5,000 students, so it would not cover the entire student population, which is why the supply list would still have to go home. And the kits are not the entire supply list. If you look at the district supply list for each grade level, those kits do not include every item on those lists.
Okay, I get it.
Ms. Hannah, can I add something else? On the request of the board, the previous year, we standardize our school list so that, and I know the board president really led this charge, so that, you know, at one school you were asked to bring 10 boxes of Kleenex, and one school too. So last year, the area superintendents worked with each of their building principals to standardize the school list so that we're more conscious of what we're asking for. So I just wanted to remind you of that, and I know you were in agreement with it, so just to put that out there.
I appreciate that, but my question still remains, Superintendent. What's in the warehouse?
So I can't speak specifically for what's in the warehouse, but there's books, there's cleaning supplies, there's a lot of other things, but could there be duplicate, could there be like pencils there? Yes, there are, because they're used for staff. Is there paper there? Yes, it is, because it's used for school buildings. This is specific for the resource fair to put in the backpacks of the students that come to our back to school fair every year.
I get it.
So this will give hopefully 5,000 parents an opportunity to help and assist with supplies, and because the ones that are returned to the school are given out or taken to schools or given to the student outreach, right, to replenish those students throughout the year. So anything that doesn't go at the resource fair is either sent to the schools
directly to
or to student outreach.
Directly to the students.
Okay. So, Ms. Lindsay.
So the warehouse was in my question to you, but one point that I just want to show is that some of the school, it says most school supplies are consumables and do not have a long shelf life. So how many supplies have expired that we're not able to use?
I don't have that number, but I know that what's inventory is what can be used.
Okay, can we just get that number for accountability purposes and make sure that this year we're not having anything expire on the shelf? And then my other question is regarding the equity around this. I don't partake because we wouldn't be the intended audience in the backpack resource fair. So how do we plan to make sure that most, if not possibly all, these backpacks go to the families that most need it?
Go ahead.
So the part of the initial sign-up sheet is available for all families, right? We want to make sure that everyone has access to it. But in addition to what we, get confirmed, we do reserve some of these supplies for our most needed students. We do know that we have students that will need supplies, and so we're prepared to support them.
Wonderful.
And yeah, we're working in collaboration. Obviously, FACE is working in collaboration with Outreach to ensure that the neediest of students are getting what they need.
Perfect. And then just as a quick plug for y'all and for the community, if you have the capacity to donate any supplies for some of our students that can't access those resources, where should they send those to, or who should they contact?
Me for now.
All right, Ms. Tasia Field.
And just, Mr. Moulton, Superintendent by way of Mr.
I'm
Moulton.
listening to you, Ms. Hannah.
Okay, Mr. Moulton, I would like to visit the warehouse, okay, within this week.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, I approve. Motion carries. We're now at S, item 11S.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the professional development request for the Waukegan High School, Miguel Juarez Middle School, and Little Fort Elementary in the amount of $51,732.50.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I have questions.
Go ahead.
You can
No, go.
I always talk
go.
after you. So from my understanding, as I've had more time to gain access to this material, there are some schools that have already gotten access to this development with the, I just had it, the name of it, if you could, the outward mindset.
Correct.
Okay, and so can those individuals not mentor the staff at these buildings with the professional development we've already invested, like that trickle-down feature?
Sure. So this particular training that we are seeking approval for would be to become trainer of trainers, and so that we would have the opportunity to have in-house capacity and no longer have to outsource and utilize going to more professional developments outside of the district, and to have trainers within each of these 3 schools who could be utilized at any of the elementary, middle, or high school campuses to maintain and support staff as they continue their work on this area.
Okay, was that an option when the first group went?
The first group only went through the initial training, which is just to go through it your first time. And so because they saw the value in it, they wanted to make sure that we could build capacity in the work. And so this request is to further the work and become trainers in it.
So you invested to see if it would be appropriate for our district,
Correct.
and now that it's been assessed that it has, we're sending people to train others. And we
Correct.
have a training plan to get that in place once they come back?
Now, each school has an implementation plan that supports how they'll be rolling this out through their school improvement work, as well as offer it as mentors to other school leaders.
Do you know how many schools are currently in line to get this training from those we're sending to get trained to be trainers?
I can get that information for you. I don't have the number off the top of my head.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Sure.
And then just in general, I want to make sure, because based on some of the critiques I've been looking at and some of the language, that it's a holistic approach in terms of not having people, how do I best phrase this? Let me hold that, Ms. Hannah, you go, and then I'll frame the question appropriately.
Yeah, the cost of this,
Mhm.
right? Is this cost for the people coming in?
Sure. So instead of having to pay for us to go somewhere and pay for the travel expenses and all those other related costs, this does certify. I think it's, I don't have the number in front of me, I'm sorry. There's 3 schools. I think there's multiple. It's teachers, it's administrators who will become trained. So the
Right.
cost,
No, I
the
understand
cost is
that,
for the
Amanda.
fee of the materials, the resources, the online portals that help support where all the structured conversation protocols are held, as well as the fees for the trainer who's coming in to train
That's
the
what
schools.
I'm asking.
Yeah, it's a combination
the
of
person
expenses.
that
Yes.
comes in.
Yes, ma'am.
And the responses for some of my questions, y'all will get it posted somehow. But in terms of the accountability within this framework, it's by collectively committing to this approach and engaging with one another on a personal and professional level. So how are we going to measure that?
Sure. So all schools utilize one of our platforms to track and monitor their school improvement work, as well as their coaching conversations and their classroom visits. And so if I were to be working, I'm going to use you as an example, if I were to be working with you on an area of practice, and these tools that I've been trained on help foster conversation, and there's a shared accountability and a shared commitment to some action items that I'm going to help support you, and you're going to go back and do either in your planning or preparation in your classroom with your students, then I can go back and I can check in on, how did it go? What stumbling blocks did you encounter? What successes did you have? And we keep track of coaching conversations in one of our tools, and we can see, did Ms. Lensing accomplish one of her action items? Is she still working towards this area? What celebrations can we do with Ms. Lensing to say, you hit that target, you improved in this particular area? So we do utilize a platform that does track all of our coaching action items that we assign to different staff members when they've accomplished a goal or an action item, and then we kind of have like a progress monitoring tool and a running record, if you will, of the coaching conversations and the impact that it's having.
Okay, so then we'll essentially, with this, it'll be built into the evaluation tools that we're approving.
We keep the coaching and the evaluation separate, but of course, if we're seeing an area of concern that's not being addressed, we would address that through the evaluation. But in terms of if it's not being implemented and there's ongoing feedback and coaching, we would be able to document that as well.
But then the whole team has access in case someone's out and they need to provide those supports. Okay, thank you.
All right, roll call.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
No.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Is T critical?
T.
Yeah, because it's from May 23rd.
All right, yes it is. Okay. T, crucial conversations for accountability.
It is recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the professional development request for Daniel Hill, Shianta Myers, and Michael Field in the amounts of $7,500 on crucial conversations for accountability from May 23rd through the 24th in Chicago, Illinois.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I have a comment. So it just seems that if we're having the outward mindset, that would cover this piece.
Right.
What am I missing then?
Anything to
So the crucial conversations for accountability, they do definitely piggyback on one another. They complement one another. The outward mindset provides structured protocols and accountability, coaching conversation tools to really work towards shared ownership of problem solving, and critical conversations or crucial conversations, I apologize, is more through the lens of evaluation. So we do try to make sure that there's a separation between coaching and evaluation. This is more structured conversations for having accountability.
It's all the same thing.
Okay, I know we're concerned about time. Thank you.
Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
This
Ms.
one
Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
No.
Ms. Lensing.
No.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. All right, you, is the approval of Renewal Equity Education Partners EEP contract.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the renewal of Equity and Education Partners EEP contract in the amount of $29,850.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Question.
Yeah,
You go
I
this
got
time.
one too. This is Ms. Fields' initiative. Can you tell me what they have brought to our district since we approved them initially?
So-
How has it helped our children with this contract?
And can you do that briefly, Ms. Fields?
Okay, I'll try
Hopefully
to
it's where
do
I
it
can
briefly.
understand.
But
As
this
you-
is okay. I'm sorry. I do have to say this. It's 9:44. We do have to be up and back for middle school graduations. We will be back here next Tuesday. We have work that we got to get through as the Board of Ed, and so a lot of these questions were answered. A lot of the answers are in the presentation. So some of them were not, and those are great that we got them ahead of time. Staff is prepared; they can speak to them. But part of getting through the work of it is to do that in a transparent way, but also an efficient and effective way for communicating and getting through the work of the board. We've already talked about it being an extensive agenda. I've explained the reason why. There's no way to go back and talk about how we could or couldn't do it, so we're in a time crunch. So I'm not asking from a lack of transparency perspective. I'm thinking about the staff that's still in the room and those that are still watching online as to how do we move this work and also get here at a reasonable time. Not because I don't want to be here, not because this work is not important, but again, when we say they gave a list of the things that have been done that make this, which is why she suggested a recommendation. So when I say speak briefly, it's because I'm assuming or believe that the board is read and it should be to make sure from a transparency perspective, the community knows that we've either asked the questions or received these answers. So when I'm asking Tasia to speak briefly is because I'm also assuming that we've gotten the information where there was a detailed list of some of the initiatives that they helped and assisted with. So Ms. Fields, if you could please answer that question.
Yes, and I will try to do so briefly. Thank you for the question. So as you know, back in 2020 and 21 school years when I was hired in this role, a very new department that we are developing, and we brought on EEP to conduct our first ever equity analysis. Very groundbreaking work that we as a district should be very proud of, right? And so in that analysis, we got several types of data that included all stakeholder feedback, and we still use that data to this day to help with several of our initiatives, right? And just to name a few that we've done and worked with in the equity department would be the development of our school-based equity facilitators, the initiative where we are using SMARTY goals in all our school improvement plans, really making sure that we are inclusive and equitable in our practices with schools. That takes time to develop in addition to our equity framework that is new. You know about our equity policy initiatives where we've come back with several policies that directly impact our students. They've assisted myself and the staff in the department with implementation of all of these things. In addition to next year, we'll be incorporating a lot more culturally responsive teaching and leading practices and more things that are coming down from ISB. As I think the last time I was here, we spoke about their continuum and such. So the list goes on in how this partnership is being impactful to not only my work, but the shared work of the district. Everything that I do, as you know, we've all said this before, equity is not just my responsibility, it's our responsibility. So in order for us to effectively be equitable across the district, we have to work together. And I can say that this partnership has been essential in the work that has come directly out of my department, in addition to supporting the staff with some of these initiatives.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. And regardless of what's said here, I am a steward of public money being spent, like it or not.
Yep. and I do the work in between to make sure that when I vote, I know and understand what it is I'm voting on. So I'm very aware of my stewardship, and I apologize for my tone. However, I will make clear it is because this is the 24th hour in the last 3 days that I've given to this district. I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world, Miss Anna. But it is frustrating, and it's frustrating for other board members, and I have to say that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you all something. There has been board meetings all the way to 3 in the morning because we do the work of the
Inappropriate.
board.
Inappropriate, and ISB would tell us that. So let's go. We
Depends
got
on what you're doing.
JJ, renewal of remind. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get a vote. Roll call.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved. Motion carries. We are at
JJ.
JJ.
It is a recommend.
CC.
And the 3 in the morning happened to be.
No, we just did
we
CC.
were in the
Oh, no, we didn't. Sorry. Renewal of partners for results
Thank you,
contract.
Nick. It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to approve the renewal of Partner for Results contract in the amount of $139,986.75.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fabian. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
I'm going to pass on this one.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Pass.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved. Motion carries. We are at JJ, renewal of remind.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the renewal of Remind licensing at the annual cost of $45,540. This will allow staff to continue to using the Remind tool to communicate with parents and students throughout the district.
I motion to approve the recommendation.
Motion
Second.
by Ms. Gonzalez,
Gonzalez.
second by Mr. Riddle. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ms.
No, I
Lynch.
apologize. So I just want the community to be aware of the two differences. And I know there was conversations from Dr. Cuevas about unapproved, I believe is the term he used, use of Class Dojo. And to me, it still seems duplicative, right? We could be using other platforms that we already have. And it's just frustrating to see multiple items from my perspective, both as a parent and a board member, that we could be leveraging better to streamline. So we're not using 3-4 systems to cover the same thing.
Good evening, Mr. President, Superintendent, Board of Education, community members. I agree with you, Ms. Lensing. It's our responsibility to have the tools that will provide the technical solutions to our district and not to duplicate efforts. We don't have one system that is out of the box that will do everything that we need. For that reason, we need to have multiple tools in place to satisfy the needs. In particular, with Remind, during COVID, we were in need to find a solution where the teachers, the building secretaries can communicate with the families to record those communications and to keep a record in the case that we need to take any legal action. Also, we need to have a tool that will translate those messages for the families that have a preferred language. Remind is unique into that. Through the years, families, they got used to. And now they have preferred languages that they can, via text, send to a text message to a secretary or to a teacher and to communicate with that. Remind will not substitute any other communication tool that we have. It's just basically another tool that we have to facilitate communications between the buildings, the students, the parents, and our community.
I'm just going to make the request that we consistently look to see when that tool is going to become available, and maybe use this next year while we have these services for our families to see how we can streamline better.
We're always looking.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. KK.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the renewal of Intrado, the school messenger licensing at the annual cost of $58,012.50. This will allow district to continue to utilize the website hosting service and mass communication tool for the admins. This is a 3-year contract with annual subscription.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fabian. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item MM, renewal of Tyler Technology.
It is-
iVisions.
Sorry. It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the renewal of iVision licensing at the annual cost of $187,924.48. This will allow the district to continue to utilize iVision to maintain our employee resource database and track finance budget certification for the district employees.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Comment. I would like for us to conduct that feedback survey within the district just to get their information on to see if it's still a valuable resource.
And you're fine with doing that after the vote, Ms. Lindsay?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Roll call.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at the consent agenda for operations. There are 4 items there. Would any board members like to vote on any of these items separately? Seeing as there is no request, a motion to approve items 12A through D.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Riddle. All in favor signify, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Quick comment. I appreciate the Sticks Foundation for that accommodation, so my vote is yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Just to read those in, 12A, approval of facility rental waiver request for La Luz del Mundo. B, approval of facility rental waiver request for funeral service for Miss Neola Scalazzo. C, approval of facility fee waiver request for the Sticks Foundation. And D, approval of emergency plumbing repairs at Glenwood Elementary. We are at purchases and contracts. Before we move into purchases and contracts, we've talked about each of these items extensively at both of our meetings. So if a board member voting yes or no would like to kind of state their position, and as reference with IESB, so people know why we're voting yes or no, I'm going to ask that that be the only comment that we make to avoid a debate or lengthy conversation. So do we have a motion to approve items 13A, approval of paper tutoring contract renewal?
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education approve the renewal contract for paper tutoring for the school fiscal year March 1st, 2023 until February 29th, 2024 at the cost of $269,880 and authorize the superintendent to execute the agreement as presented.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Fabian. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I thought you wanted that with our vote.
I'm sorry, I will. Yep, roll call.
Mr. McBride. Yes. Ms. Fabian.
Yes, but I do want to see, never mind, just yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Pass.
Mr. Riddle.
No, I'm going to vote no, and my reasons are that I don't feel this is worthy of renewal. It's not cost effective. There's too few students using it, and the numbers drop after they've used it once or twice. It drops almost 50%. I don't believe we're reaching our most needy students. There's not sufficient stats that really show this is effective or why we want to renew it. I believe that our introduction to students and staff regarding the use of paper has been too slow, and I don't see that improving. I believe paper, there's mixed reviews when I research it. Many large districts are dropping it in lieu of using personal one-on-one tutoring, which research shows provides more benefits for our students. And I would encourage our district to allocate these ESSER 3 funds to our middle school principals so that they could use that money to enrich tutoring opportunities by hiring retired teachers or paras to work with students before, during, and after school. So my vote is no.
And Lee, can you press the 13A item? Just yeah, okay. We were on a different item.
And continue the roll.
Miss Hannah,
No.
Miss Lansing,
No, unfortunately, I feel the first go around with this tool, while to Mr. Ewing's point, could be very beneficial to some small families, it was mismanaged, and as a steward of these funds, I cannot have it go a second time of improperly used funds.
No. Go ahead. No. Meaning you got to call my name.
Oh.
President Ewing.
No. Seeing as we did not reach a majority, the item fails. All right, we are at 13B, approval of the Renew Youth Guidance BAM WOW for 23-24 SY and 24-25 SY.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to approve the renewal of youth guidance BAM WOW for the school year 23-24 and 24-25 in the amount of $4,172,197.
I motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Riddle. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride,
We making comments after the vote or before?
When you take your vote, Mr. McBride, if you vote yes or no, you can state your reason at that time. Wait, is that, who's it at, Mr. McBride right now?
Mr. McBride.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. McBride.
Well, you know, in the past, from day one, when WOW came, I thought that they would be entertaining the kids that most needed it. And that didn't happen, but as time went on, I've heard individuals come to that podium and said that all kids need it. And as a result of that, I had to do some soul searching, and I'm not going to labor the kids that do need it over the kids that are doing what they supposed to be doing and still could use them as well. So I'm voting yes because of the fact that all kids need it, but I'm not going to dismiss the problem that we have with those kids that do need it. And I am asking this board, as well as we invest in money for those kids that that's using BAM now, for those kids that we know that need it, that we also think outside the box and come up with some money for them as well. And that's equity.
Thank you, Ms. McBride.
Miss Fabian.
Yes, and then I just also want to add a comment on, I hope in the future that we do see more communication out to parents to really have them understand that this is available for their children, and how they can also refer their own children in and not have to wait for a teacher or staff member to do so. So I vote yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes, and I wholeheartedly agree with what Mr. McBride said earlier.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes, and I feel that BAM and WOW are doing good in our community, and they will continue to do good. They're a nationally recognized program. The comments, as others board members have heard, I've heard, are good. We certainly hope more parents encourage their children to get involved with this group. So yes.
Miss Hannah.
I'm going to vote no because what is really bothering me is the fact that when they first came to us, they started at $661,000, and it has tripled. Maybe quite. I don't know. It's a lot more money. We're up to $4 million now, and even though they are working with students, the intent of BAM and WOW was to come in and to deal with the students that we are still having the issues with in our schools, and that was their specialty. And I just don't believe that, just based on my research, I don't believe that we're only funding our Waukegan area, that some of this money is being used in their Chicago offices and programs as well. So I'm voting no.
Miss Lansing.
it's a very complicated and multifaceted question, and there's a lot of nuance to this for many of the reasons that Ms. Hannah has stated, but also as how other board members have stated. Mental health services are important for our community. That's point blank. From what I understood, we had community partnerships in the past, and I don't have the tenure to know what happened or the breakdown or why these students aren't still receiving those services they were, or what's going on with the current district staff members we have and their ability to do the job in an understaffed situation. But because of the financial aspect where it's, 3.5, 4 times more, I don't have enough clarity around that, so I can't in good conscience spend $4 million while the services of mental health are definitely needed and the BAM and WOW counselors individually do a good job. I just can't wrap my head around it, and unfortunately I have to say no.
President Ewing.
Yes, yes, and I will continue to say, bring community organizations to the table. There are many that are operating in schools. Most of it, they fly under the radar, and they would love to have the opportunity for access to resources. We as a board established and created a an evaluation tool, RFP process related to evaluating the community programs. Outside of construction projects, I have not seen that come forward for principals to be given access to know these are all of the resources in the community and which one best fits your school. So I support BAM and WOW because I always say it was never an or, BAM and WOW or the community. That's never been my intent. But what has happened is the community hasn't clearly seen the and part. So they've seen us renew this contract, but we haven't clearly said there are more than 38 organizations that are working in Waukegan Public Schools, and this is the list of them and how you can access them and resource them. So it's hard for me to hold this organization accountable when it's our internal systems, and I don't want to throw out something that has students that are benefiting from it. We need to add to and make sure that we're targeting. We need to do better a job about promoting all of the resources. It's because I know, because I've had conversations, that other nonprofit partners are actually considering leaving because of the lack of buy-in and support. Is we all have a goal of wanting to help and support our kids, so let's get to the table and figure out how everybody can do so. So again, I vote yes, and not next month, not in October, not next January. It's yes, and we need to get those individuals to the table now so that they're in place day one when our school opens. So with that, item approved, motion carries.
For clarity,
And-
Board President, this is
yeah.
a 2-year contract,
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
1-year
No,
contract.
this is a 2-year
That's right.
contract.
I just
I'm
wanted to make sure the
speaking
public
to-
knows that.
Yeah, my point was about the community partners. I accepted the fact that we created an RFQ process. We've not implemented that RFQ process to evaluate community organizations that also have resources that they want to bring to the table. All right, so we are at personnel items. We got 14A, approval of 4% increase for non-union personnel.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to give a 4% raise to all non-union personnel with employees with single health insurance coverage only contributing 0.32% of their pay towards single health coverage, and those with dependent coverage paying 35% of any increase in dependent rates from fiscal year 2022 per plan type as determined by Blue Cross Blue Shield, the district insurance carrier.
And same, so for questions upon clarity, yes. If it's just, voting your conscience, I'll ask that you refrain that for the comments. Very briefly, there was a question about the employee compensation report, right? We did look at non-union staff. There were only specific positions. Ms. Hannah made a request, and I agreed, as well as the other board, but we haven't voted on it officially, is to engage. Well, and I think, Ms. Hannah, it wasn't that we weren't doing it. We talked and gave a rationale about the timeline. So now that the new board is in place, that'll be something that we can bring forward in order to take an official vote on, and that is doing the compensation study for everyone else. This is the annual 4% increase that is what's being recommended. So if there are any further clarifying questions, otherwise I'm going to tell you to vote your conscience.
We need a motion to,
I do need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. No, I had comments and questions, but anyway. All right. Roll call.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. B, if I'm okay with you all, can we take B and C as together?
Yes. So moved? No?
I have to
Oh,
take one first, so
I
look at
take-
that. So item 14B, approval of compensation for board appointed treasurer.
It is a recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approve the compensation of $25,000 annually for the district treasurer effective July 1st, 2023, until otherwise changed or revoked by the Board of Education.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yeah, who's the treasurer?
It's going to be Ms.
She's
Polk.
raising her hand in back for those that you can't see.
Yeah. Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. C, approval of treasurer appointment and surety bond renewal process and the payment to West Insurance Agency and Ohio Casualty Insurance, respectively.
It is a recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education appoint Ms. Gwendolyn Polk as district treasurer for 2 years beginning July 1st, 2023, ending June 30th, 2025, and authorize the superintendent to approve process payments for a treasurer bond from insurance carrier Ohio Casualty Insurance for a total of $36,174.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. D, attendance at 2023 CUBE conference.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education approve the attendance of 5 board members, 1 staff at the 2023 National Association of School Board CUBE Conference in Chicago, Illinois, from September 4th through September 16th at an estimated cost of $2,000 per person, which includes registration, lodging per diem, for a total cost of $12,000.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Fabian.
Second with the question.
You sorry, second with a question. You were my second. I'm sorry.
I'm just like, I just don't want to be skipped over my question.
No, it was second with a question. All right, question, Miss Lindsay.
So can you give me the context around why it's been the practice that the superintendent joins a conference that's targeted towards school board members where they will talk about how we can be effective school board members?
Yeah, so CUBE specifically is the Council of Urban Boards of Ed. It's not just for board members. They continue. One of the things that we talk about is the superintendent board as a board team, right? Where we govern together, right? We have certain responsibilities and certain responsibilities fall with her. So there are tons of superintendents at the conference. Some superintendents actually lead some of the sessions. And so it's usually really, I found it to be a good practice for the superintendent to go and be receiving some of the same information that the board is. So if you're having a conversation on accountability or goals or how to move the district, we have a role as board members with that, but the superintendent has a role with that as well. The other reason is not under this board, but previously is anytime more than, is it two board members, Ms. Hannah, would attend a conference, then an administrator would be required to go. And so that has also been continued. So there are 5 board members that are going based on, or is it 4?
It's 5.
It's 5 plus the superintendent. So that's another reason is we've hit that mark. She's the administrator that's going.
So it's a requirement by the Open Meetings Act? Is that what's
It's
the
not
legislation behind it?
It's not a requirement from
Oh.
OMA. It is a board agreement, and that has been a practice predating even this superintendent or this board of ed. So
Thank you for the context.
no worries. Roll call.
Mr. McBride. Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
Yes.
Ms. Lensing.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at E, approval settlement agreement with employee 7481.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the settlement agreement with employee number 7481 as presented by General Counsel.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Again, it's personnel item, but if there are any specific questions or comments, if you say them during the roll call. Roll call vote.
Mr. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
I'm gonna pass.
Ms. Lensing,
I
wasn't
here.
there.
Right.
Yeah,
I think you were.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Apologies.
No, yeah.
It's been a night. I said yes.
oh, President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. All right.
Given that this agreement was passed, just to let the community know, this involves Ms. Lindy Neves.
Thank you. We are now at 17A, the ratification of second processing of May 2003 board bills, mail check request payments, Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of May 3rd, 2023 through May 16th.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the second processing of board bills May 2023 and mail check request payments and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of May 3rd, 2023 through May 16, 2023. The accounts payable board May 3rd, 2023 through May 16, 2023. Payments total $2,737,528.11. The mail check request payments for the period of May 3rd, 2023 through May 16, 2023, total $838,026.18. Though National Bank insurance payments for the period of May 3rd, 2023 through May 16, 2023, total $0.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
I'm gonna abstain.
Ms. Lensing,
Yeah. Pass.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Old business, approval of partial facility rental waiver request, Midwest Mountain Lions.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve Midwest Mountain Lions modified partial facility rental waiver request. The facility rental fees assessed by the district for this event is $1,200.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Roll call and state your comments with your vote.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
I think we had voted on this before, and
No. Oh, yeah, we did.
we did.
You're right.
And people had some pushback, which is why we're revisiting this now. But I think it's good that they came back. So yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes, and this is available to now our students. They can attend this game for free.
Ms.
All
Han-
Waukegan students. So it'd be interesting. This is a women's football, tackle football league.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lensing,
I'm excited to see people come out June 3rd. Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Authorization of release of closed session minutes.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education approves it is the recommendation that the Board of Education approve and authorize the superintendent or her designee to release closed session minutes as listed below in public content section, subject to prior legal review and redaction for continuing confidentiality considerations and the stipulations set forth.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Roll call.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yep.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes, and I'm glad that we are catching up, because I'm not real certain when the last time that we voted on closed session minutes to be released. But yes.
Ms. Lensing,
Pass.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. I did ask the superintendent to hold superintendent's report, and I am going to ask board members to hold board member time.
Just one little thing.
I
was
was just put a
tasked to
time
say
limit
this.
on our time.
A minute each?
It's a
Does
minute,
that
a
work?
minute each.
I'm,
yeah.
I'm, if that's all I'll get, I'll get it.
All right, I'll start right now.
ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Just because Mr. Sabecki and Ms. Hannah told me to say it. Anthony Solis, he's an all-star athlete on the baseball team. We beat Zion Benton in our regional opener.
yes,
He's a D1 athlete, and all of our baseball players are going to play Stevenson tomorrow. Be there, Stevenson. Go Bulldogs.
Yeah, woo-woo.
Ms. Lindsay, you said you had a point.
Yes, I'm hoping that this district, as we move into summer, prioritize safety, both physically and mentally, for not only our students, but our district staff. So we should be prepared to buckle down the summer to figure out, even to your point, President Ewing, we need to make sure that when our kids go into these buildings, they are safe. When our teachers go into the buildings, they are safe. When our staff, like our custodians, right? Operations, everyone needs to be safe. And we keep seeing more and more problems where we now have parents entering buildings and it's coming to a boiling point. And I don't want anyone in our district to see more violence than what we've already seen. So we need to make sure that we spend this summer really strategizing how we can open up our schools safely for the 2023-2024 school year. And I'm ready to buckle down the summer to get it done.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Anybody else with essentials? Go ahead, Ms. Fabian.
Just real quick, I wanted to advertise for Mr. Green over at John Lewis, who is selling aprons. I just received mine. And the funds go to his program over there with the greenhouse, and the kids actually also cook what they grow. So if you want an apron, contact Mr. Green over at Lewis, and they're $16.
And they do awesome work. Mr. Riddle, you said
Just a big thank you to all our teachers and our staff for a fabulous year, and enjoy the summer. Thank you so much for everything you do for our children.
thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you to Board of Education. Safety is paramount, so thank you for that reminder, Ms. Lindsay. With that, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
I didn't say no.
Oh, I asked if anybody had anything to say. Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
Please, I want to say congratulations to all of the high school graduates that graduated. Congratulations to all of our promotional 8th graders. And one big thing, we must be mindful of conversations that we have when microphones are on, because something happened and it's on YouTube. Okay, you go back and listen, but we have to be mindful, and those microphones at the graduation were very sensitive, and they picked up a conversation.
All right, with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Riddle. Second was Fabian. I heard first. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned.